the time to listen to me whine about nothing and everything all at once. I am one of those melodramatic fools, neurotic to the bone, no doubt about it. Sometimes I give myself the creeps. Sometimes my mind plays tricks on me. It all keeps adding up. I think I'm cracking up,
because my dreams are bursting at the seams.
As I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I take a look at my life and realize there's nothing left. Cause I've been blasting and laughing so long that even my mama thinks that my mind is gone. But I ain't never crossed a man that didn't deserve it. Me be treated like a punk, you know that's unheard of. You better watch how you're talking and where you're walking, or you and your homies might be lined in chalk.
Been spending most of our lives living in a gangster's paradise. Been spending most of our lives living in a gangster's paradise. Keep spending most of our lives living in a gangster's paradise. Keep spending most of our lives living in a gangster's paradise.
I went to a shrink to analyze my dreams. She says it's like a sex that's bringing me down. I went to a whore, he said my life's a bore. So quit my one cause it's bringing it down.
I'm an educated fool with money on my mind, Mac 11 in my hand and a gleam in my eye. I'm a loped out gangster, set tripping banger, and my homies is down, so don't arouse my anger. Fool, death ain't nothing but a heartbeat away. I'm living life, you would die. What can I say? I'm 23 now, but will I live to see 24 the way they just going? I don't know. Tell me.
Sometimes I give myself the creeps. Sometimes I give myself the creeps. Sometimes my mind plays tricks on me. Sometimes my mind plays tricks on me. It all keeps adding up. I think I'm cracking up.
Cause everything is never as it seems. Why are we so blind to see that the ones we hurt are you and me? Tell me why are we so blind when I'm asleep? Cause everything is never as it seems. When I fall asleep,
I like to make myself believe this planet Earth turns slowly. It's hard to say that I'd rather stay awake when I'm asleep, because my dreams are bursting at the seams.
Cause I get 1,000 hugs from 10,000 lightning bugs as they try to teach me how to dance. A foxtrot above my head, a sock hop beneath my bed, a disco ball is just hanging by a thread. I'd like to make myself believe that the planet Earth turns slowly. It's hard to say that I'd rather stay awake when I'm asleep, cause everything is never as it seems. Cause everything is never as it seems. I'd rather stay awake when I'm asleep, cause everything is never as it seems.
Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, and welcome to the Vanguard. For Spike the Junicorn Cohen, I am Matt Wright, and together we are traversing the muddied waters of freedom.
Hey everyone, how are you doing?
I'm certain they're fine. I'm doing well.
We assume you're all okay. How's your week been?
My week has been just freaking fantastic.
Sounds like it.
No, my week has been actually one of the best weeks I've had in a really, really, really long time.
Oh, good. I had a pretty good week too. I got to meet our future president and the orb mother herself, Marianne Williamson, and that was.
You had a better week than me.
What's that?
You had a better week than me.
Just because of that?
Yeah, because your chakras are now aligned.
Like perfectly aligned. Yeah, no, I can feel it. I can feel like my third eye is wide open. I don't know, like I don't use makeup, so I don't know if you can see it, but it's pretty intense. It's pretty intense. I wasn't ready for it to be spiritual. I was expecting it to be, well, I guess I was expecting it to be spiritual. So don't mind me, guys. Apparently the lovely folks at CNN are making it. They aren't doing a splash page like NBC did during their debate. I think they're just gonna go live immediately as soon as they are ready to go live at 8. So I will be having to do that while I talk to Matt and you fine folks.
Right.
Hey.
So we literally only have a couple of minutes to kill, but if you're planning on starting a podcast.
Yeah, guys, if you're planning on starting a podcast, Anchor FM is the easiest way to make a podcast.
That's right. They have the creation tools that make it just super easy for you to do everything you need. I don't have the notes up.
So it sounds great.
Pull up faster notes.
Is it possible that they let you easily, that it easily shares your podcast to all the main podcasters such as Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and many more?
Spotify, Radio Public, and many more.
Wow.
And the best part is you can easily make money from your podcast.
Oh, well, you can, but I'm sure you have to have some kind of minimum listenership.
You would think. They say they can't hear me. You would think that you would need some kind of minimum listenership, but you don't have a minimum listenership.
Who is saying they can't hear you? Because
on YouTube, Private Robin the Brat. Chris Reynolds.
Who is saying they can't hear you? Because
on YouTube, Private Robin the Brat. No, I'm not.
I can hear you.
I could hear me on the back.
Yeah. Well, I don't know what's going on there. PVT Petrobin the Brat 81. Because we can hear.
No, I can hear me on.
Yeah. We can hear Matt. So I'm sorry if someone can't.
Robin the Brat, I apologize. I don't know how we can fix that for you.
Yeah, I don't know either. So we've got some messages here. Starting at. What are we starting here with the mid?
I think there's only 2 from
John Galt.
Yes.
Definitely not personal injury attorney Chris Reynolds, attorney at law. It's definitely someone else, namely John Galt.
Somebody else named John Galt.
All right, so here's the first one, the Mueller moment.
Personal injury attorney Chris Reynolds here with your Mueller moment. So here we are with a disappointing and anticlimactic week. We all saw on TV the end of a story we've been following for a long time now. Everyone has been taking sides. There's high stakes involved. A witness being confronted who would ostensibly captivate everyone. And when the witness takes the stand in this massive battle, we realize that we've known all along all the info that we needed. The witness wasn't going to tell us anything new. Maybe our hopes were too high all along for all of this, but
this could
we
strike
knew
our
before
entire
that we
solar
didn't
system.
understand what the witness was going to say. And so to me, That's the reason why the finale of Big Little Lies really never had a chance. But I'd love your guys' thoughts. Thanks. Bye.
He does this John Galt does this every episode where do you watch Big Little Lies?
No, I've been told that I would really like it, but no. No.
Yeah, so John Galt.
If that is the way that Big Little Lies ended, that's just so timely for the Mueller
for the Mueller report. Yeah, because it sounds pretty much like the same thing.
Yeah, like I feel like they could have. Well, I guess they would have had to write that before. Mueller must have gotten like a spoiler list and was like, "No, this is what we're gonna do."
That's yeah. I mean, he. I only caught little bits of it. He seemed like he didn't want to be there, and he really just wanted to take a nap. He just seemed tired,
right?
And not just tired, like physically tired. He seemed like he was just tired of the whole thing. He did his report. The Attorney General decided they didn't want to prosecute. It's the end of that. So unless Congress is going to vote to impeach him, then I think he's probably wondering what we're doing at this point. Like, what is the point of continuing this?
So we've got a question from a longtime listener, and one-time guest on the show, John Sterner.
Okay.
Mr. Trump himself. He says, besides the Orb Mother, who stands a chance of beating Trump? And let's just hold it to the people on the stage tonight.
Oh God, who's all's on the stage tonight?
So we got so you got Bernie and you got Elizabeth Warren. They're the two front runners.
Okay, Biden's not on tonight.
Biden and Harris are tomorrow.
Okay.
I don't see either one of them having a chance.
I don't see Liz Warren having a chance. I could see Bernie having a chance by basically just being Trump, but no, I guess I couldn't see him winning it because his whole shtick. Trump takes most of his shtick and repackages it as patriotism, and I don't see either of them winning. I'm not sure I see anyone except, of course, for Marianne Williamson, beating him. I don't see it.
Did you level our sounds? Because Robin Dominic on YouTube is saying that your volume's a 25 and mine is a 7.
Okay. I did.
Okay. Huh.
But here, say something now.
Okay. Well, Robin, I hope that this is better.
I hope that as well. Yeah, it looks about the same. I guess mine was a little bit louder. All right. So it's better now.
Yeah, so we've got, honestly, so on the stage tonight, we have Marianne Williamson, who is excluded because duh. And then we've got Ryan Klobuchar, Buttigieg, Sanders, Warren, Beto, Hickenlooper, Delaney, and Bullock. And out of those people, man, I don't know. I
don't see any of them winning. I don't see any of them winning.
Buttigieg, a month ago, I would have said possibly.
Yeah, I don't see that happening now either.
He's been tail spinning.
We should be on the air at 6.
I'm sorry. I'm apparently CNN is not going to do it live on YouTube, so I'm gonna have to do it from their website.
Oh man, they're only gonna give you 10 minutes at a time.
Who's that?
See, so when CNN did their LeBron James The Decision political edition, when they were picking this, you had to have a CNN. Well, I don't have cable, so I couldn't sign into my cable provider to watch it on their website.
It's letting me see it, but it's only letting me see it as this little tiny window, so I'm gonna have to freaking go. Good.
Chris Reynolds asks, will we hear Spanish tonight? Yes.
Almost assuredly, yes.
Yes, that is definitely gonna happen.
That is definitely going to happen. I'm going to go ahead and start the audio on this, and while simultaneously
the biggest presidential field in history to campaign
simultaneously
for
cropping
change
it so we can see
they
it.
want to take back from Trump.
There is no such thing as a permanently red state.
This democracy must come together. We must repair it.
There is nothing that will stop us.
Democracy is not for sale.
Unless you're Hillary Clinton. Yeah, we're definitely going to hear Spanish tonight. It's going to come from Bodo. He doesn't have all the rest of the panderers on this stage with him though, so I don't think it's going to be. It's not going to be as bad as it was in the first round of debate.
Good
also,
evening
when I was
from the
talking with
historic Fox
Chris
Theater
Randall
in
before
downtown
the show,
Detroit, Michigan. This is the CNN
we both
Democratic
were kind of in
presidential
agreement that
debate.
even though
Welcome to
Marianne Williamson is on this is on night one, this is not going to be the exciting night. I think this is going to be a very boring debate.
Well, don't say that, because we got to have people. It's going to be the most exciting thing we've ever seen.
Well, that's why we're here.
Right.
We're here to make it exciting.
Well, yeah.
I'm not seeing many fireworks happening in this debate.
Well, we shall see.
We shall see.
I did that in record time, by the way. I hope someone.
Really fast.
I hope someone appreciates that.
I know how difficult it is to get that right, and you nailed it.
Yeah, I'm turning captions off because that's just going to confuse everyone. Or should I have it on? I don't know. On, off?
Off.
So please welcome.
Okay. All right, here we go.
Bernie Sanders.
Is there a historically permanent red state?
What's that?
Chris Reynolds asks if there's a historically permanent red state.
No.
I can't.
No, or a historically democratic state, because there was a switcheroo in the 50s and 60s. So I don't think any state has been solid across the board.
I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think so.
From Texas, former Congressman Beto.
Who's dropped out? Swalwell, and that's it?
Yeah, Swalwell dropped out. I believe everybody else is still. And we got new people.
Yeah, no, we got more people.
Yeah, we got
From Minnesota, Senator
Bullock.
Amy Klobuchar.
You got what?
Bullock.
Oh yeah, Bullock.
Bullock.
My favorite person named Bullock. All right. Chat.
From Colorado, former Governor John Hickenlooper.
Hickenlooper, he looks like he should have gotten his teeth like whitened before
From
doing
Ohio,
the debate.
Congressman Tim Ryan.
Tim Ryan. My God, the number of people that are in this debate, it's crazy to me.
From Maryland, former Congressman John Delaney.
Is that the guy who keeps saying we have to fight against... oh, no, that's Hickenlooper that keeps saying we have to fight against socialism.
Texas, author Marianne Williamson.
Yeah, here we go. Here we go.
There she is.
Here we go.
The star.
The star of the night.
From Montana, Governor Steve Bullock.
That was a smattering of applause for Steve.
See, last time we started late, and so we missed all this, which I think we might have been better off having missed this.
Now, please rise for the presentation of colors from the James Europe VFW Post 2233 and the District 4 Honor Guard.
And please remain standing for our national anthem performed by Detroit's own Pastor Marvin Winans and
They let a gun in there?
Church Choir.
They let a gun in the... Wow.
Yeah, that's really surprising. I'm actually surprised that they asked him to stand.
Please hiss derisively as the... Is that the sound of hissing derisively? I think they are actually hissing derisively. Arguably one of the most patriotic moments of this show, possibly ever.
Awesome. Yeah, easily. Oh, let me thank Justin for pouring me this comic.
Yes, and allow me to thank Kroger, after a long absence from my water drinking situation when I was in Canada, for bringing us this water, Buluvanaka. This is an awkward... Oh, they're walking off the thing.
The stage is set. The debate will begin right after this short break.
They started strong. Easily the most patriotic moment that's ever happened on this show.
That's, yeah. I don't think we've ever...
Without a question, we had multiple people say, is this where everybody kneels? I wish one of the candidates would kneel.
Where are you getting these comments? I'm not seeing... here we go. Zach Krug, notice me. Zach, you have been noticed.
Zach, you're noticed.
Team also local Jew.
One of the Democrats is just standing there and the whole group singing the national anthem are all black. I'm sure that wasn't an accident. I was more worried about the name of the church, which was Perfecting Church.
Is that what it was called? Perfecting Church?
Yeah, it was Reverend whatever and the Perfecting Church Choir.
I mean, listen, every day you get a little bit better. You got to perfect your church.
Right, yeah. I mean, is that just one church or is it all churches? We're perfecting all church.
We're perfecting all the churches. I mean, listen, we could say our church is perfect, but that's a lie.
Right.
I think it's a good, honest, that's a self-aware name for a church. We're perfecting this church.
Yeah. And everybody, Max Meek's author is watching us. So if you are watching this, go on Amazon, do a little quick Amazon search for Max Meeks. He wrote a book. It's called How We Became the American Zombies. Check it out. It's a good read.
Yeah. I haven't read it, but you should. I will. I should, actually.
You would like it. You would definitely like it.
It sounds like I would like it. It sounds like I'd like it. I am mourning the fact that they're not going to let me. This looks okay, right? Resolution wise.
Yeah, no, it looks good. I'm good with it.
Okay, we'll deal
Shane
with it.
Sweeney says he's having tilapia tonight, much better than the salmon.
In what strange ring of hell is tilapia? Where?
I was gonna take care of that one for you, but never mind. You go.
Where is tilapia? A muddy. This is the muddied fish of poor health. Why? First of all, why tilapia? Oh, you know what's really good food is like the chitlins of the sea.
What's wrong with chitlins?
Or tilapia, nothing apparently. Apparently, they're both better than salmon, but also Shane's not anti-Semitic. Anyway. I just tilapia. You're obviously trolling, sir.
Max said if you send him your address, he'll send you a copy of his book.
Oh yeah?
15 additional seconds if a moderator
really?
asks for a clarification.
Will you sign it?
Timing lights will remind you of these limits.
If you sign it, honestly, you can't be a chooser, but I'd love it signed too. If that's like a thing, can you get a signed thing?
Will have his or her time reduced.
Oh.
Also want to ask our audience inside.
Oh, they're going to penalize them.
To remain silent when the candidates are actively debating.
That should be fun.
The candidates need to be able to hear the questions and hear
Can we get some volume
one another.
on Jake Tapper there?
Time now for opening statements. You'll each receive 1 minute. Governor Steve Bullock, please begin.
Thanks, Dana. I come from a state where a lot of people voted for Donald Trump. Let's not kid ourselves. He will be hard to beat. Yet watching that last debate, folks seem more concerned about scoring points or outdoing each other with wish list economics than making sure Americans know we hear their voices and will help their lives. Look, I'm a pro-choice, pro-union, populist Democrat that won 3 elections in a red state, not by compromising our values, but by getting stuff done. That's how we win back the places we lost.
I was going to say, thank you. This guy comes off as like he's making fun of who this person actually is.
Right.
I'm Steve Bullock, and I'm populist governor.
It's like Frank Oz wrote the script for this.
Their problems are on the here and now. I'm a progressive, emphasis on progress, and I'm running for president to get stuff done for all those Americans Washington has left behind.
Why do you talk
Marianne
like...
Williamson.
Yes. Everyone shut up.
In 1776, our founders brought forth on this planet an extraordinary new possibility.
She said this.
It was the idea that people, no matter who they were, would simply have the possibility of thriving. We have not ever totally actualized this ideal, but at the times when we have done best, we have tried. And when forces have opposed them, generations of Americans have risen up and pushed back against those forces. We did that with abolition and with women's suffrage and with civil rights. And now it is time for a generation of Americans to rise up again. For an amoral economic system has turned short-term profits for huge multinational corporations into a false god. And this new false god takes precedence over the safety and the health and the well-being of we, the American people, and the people of the world, and the planet on which we live. Conventional politics will not solve this problem, because conventional politics is part of the problem. We, the American people, must rise up and do what we do best and create a new possibility. Say no to what we don't want, and yes to what we know can be true. I'm Marianne Williamson, and that's why I'm running for president.
Congressman John Delaney.
Folks,
that was good, right? Like, that was
we
good.
We can go down the road that Senator Sanders
I don't really
Senator
care
Warren
what this schmuck has to go with.
With
Well, this is the Marianne Williamson show tonight. So, Matt, what did you think of that?
Honestly, so her first performance in the first debate, in the first round of debates, she came off as the crazy Twin Peaks character that the Twin Peaks character that I would have loved to have seen in any season of Twin Peaks. This actually, I know that she has taken a lot of flack from the left and a lot of flack from the right for her performance in that last debate, but I feel as though she's coming out with a little bit more professionalism as somebody running for president. And it showed in her opening statement over the last one.
So that's what I saw, and she actually said some of those things too in her little spiel that she gave at the event I went to. And then I was kind of surprised when I went to that. I was like, wow, that's pretty, like, I was like pretty impressed. I mean, I'm not a Democrat or a progressive, so I wasn't terribly thrilled with all of her ideas there, but I was like, that was actually a good presentation. Honestly, in my mind, it's a better presentation than Bernie's. The one to pretend that the people got all the stuff, and then the other people got, the most other people's, they only got like half the other stuff, so that's unacceptable. Like, yeah. I know that appeals clearly to someone. I wasn't feeling that. Like, even just from just hearing it. I don't want to hear it. It's like New York Elmer Fudd is not happy about life. And honestly, I'm still thinking about the tilapia thing. That's just a nightmare.
Don't let it get to you.
I'm trying not to. I'm trying to be a professional, but my God. Shane, hey, I'm partly Semitic. I don't know which part. Probably your poor, long-suffering stomach and intestines that have to go through that nonsense. Here, let's. Do any of these people have anything? Oh, this is the anti-socialism guy. I want to hear what he has to say.
Those 40 Democrats support the policies of our frontrunners at center stage. Now, I share their progressive values, but I'm a little more pragmatic.
Oh.
I was out of work for 2 whole years until I started what became the largest brew pub in America. And I learned the small business lessons of how to provide service and teamwork, and became a top mayor, and as governor of Colorado, created the #1 economy in the country. We also expanded health care and reproductive rights. We attacked climate change head on. We beat the NRA. We did not build massive government expansions. Now, some will promise a bill tonight or a plan for tonight. What we focused on was making sure that we got people together to get things done, to provide solutions to problems, to make sure that we worked together and created jobs. That's how we're going to beat Donald Trump. That's how we're going to win Michigan and the country.
Senator Amy Klobuchar.
Let's get real. Tonight we debate, but ultimately we have to beat Donald Trump. My background, it's a little different than his. I stand before you today as a granddaughter of an iron ore miner, as a daughter of a union teacher and a newspaper man, as a first woman elected to the U.S. Senate from the state of Minnesota, and a candidate for president of the United States. That's because we come from a country of shared dreams. And I have had it with the racist attacks. I have had it with a president that says one thing on TV that has your back, and then you get home and you see those charges for prescription drugs and cable.
Isn't this the one that, like, is brutal to her staff or something like that?
Yeah, this is the one that made her staff eat salad with a fork, with a comb.
I will make some simple promises. I can win this
Why?
from the Midwest, and I have won every race.
What was the functional purpose of making someone eat salad with a comb? Just the power trip?
No, so I guess he forgot to get her a fork, and she was like, "What am I supposed to do? Eat it with a comb?" And he was like, "I don't know." And so she made him eat it with a comb or something like that. I can't remember.
Discovers its greatness at its moments.
Does he speak Spanish here?
This moment will define us forever. And I believe that in this test,
Mi nombre es
America
Beto.
In the face of cruelty and fear from a lawless president, we will choose to be the nation that stands up for the human rights of everyone,
Why won't that
for the
go
rule
away?
of law for everyone, and a democracy that serves everyone. Whatever our differences, we know that before we are anything else, we are Americans first.
I did it.
And we will ensure that each
I
one of
did
us
it.
is well enough and educated enough.
I'm
and
surprised
paid
he
enough
didn't get
to
up
realize
on
our full
the
potential. We will
on
meet
the
these challenges
podium and
here
then
at
kneel
home,
down.
and we will lead the world in those
It's
we
weird.
face
He does like
abroad,
3 words and then he
successfully confronting endless
expecting
war
to be in
and
chat.
climate change. At this moment of truth, let us pursue our national promise and make a more perfect union of everyone, by everyone, and for everyone.
Mayor Pete Buttigieg.
I'm running for president because our country is running out of time. It is even bigger than the emergency of the Trump presidency. Ask yourself how somebody like Donald Trump ever gets within cheating distance of the Oval Office in the first place. It doesn't happen unless America is already
cheating
in a
distance.
crisis.
Because he cheated, Matt.
Yeah, I was gonna say, man,
climate change. We have
not quite the subliminal message
in my
there.
industrial Midwest.
He got within cheating distance because he cheated.
And it's only accelerating.
That's the message.
Science tells us we have 12
He wasn't hiding that one.
I want to know what that thing is on his head.
When it comes to our climate.
Does he always have that thing, guys? Anyone watching? Does he always have that thing on, like, just above his right eyebrow?
Yeah, that thing.
Is that a thing? Is that his thing, or like, did something happen? That thing is within cheating distance of his eyeball.
And politicians that have dominated Washington for as long as I have been alive. We've got to summon the courage to walk away from the past and do something different. This is our shot. That is why I'm running for president.
It's the most important election of our lifetimes.
Donald Trump disgraces the office of president every single day.
Oh,
and
God.
anyone on this
Does she have
stage tonight or
Parkinson's?
tomorrow night would be a far better president. I promise no matter who our candidate is, I will work my heart out.
Did you just see that little shake she did?
Yeah. She.
Our problems didn't start with Donald
I mean, she wouldn't admit it if she did, but
No, but
corrupt, rigged system.
I mean, that could also just be like a nerves thing. But she had a like.
And kicked dirt in the faces of everyone else. We're not going to solve the urgent problems that we face.
Or is that some
with
kind of like
small
native?
ideas and spinelessness.
What?
We're going to solve them by being the Democratic Party of
What?
big structural
CNN just
change.
blocked us.
We need to be the party that fights for our democracy and
How
our
does CNN block? What does that mean?
everyone. You know, I know what's broken in this country.
Turner
I know
Broadcasting
how to
AP
fix
blocked
it,
your video because
and
it contains
I will
content
fight
they
to
own.
make it happen.
Oh, for God's sake!
Tonight in America, as we speak, 87 million Americans
Are we on YouTube?
are uninsured or underinsured.
Yeah, we're on YouTube.
We're on YouTube? Well, for right now, anyway.
Yeah, we're on YouTube. So here, let me.
Tonight, as we speak, right now, 500,000 Americans are sleeping out on the street, and yet companies like Amazon that made billions in profits.
Here, where's that link?
In federal income tax. Tonight, half of the American people are living paycheck to paycheck. And yet 49%
That sucks.
of all new
That
income
sucks
goes
so
to the
hard.
top 1%. Tonight, the fossil fuel industry continues to receive
Really,
hundreds of
we're
billions
showing
of
your
dollars
debate.
in substation and tax breaks
I just
while they destroy this planet.
I just shared it on Facebook, the link to our.
And come together in an unprecedented grassroots movement.
You think they're going to do that tomorrow too?
Defeat Trump, but to transform our economy
Well, that
and
sucks.
our government.
Thank you, Senator Sanders. Let's start the debate.
Hey, I
with
could.
the number
I'm going
one
to say
issue
that
of
it
Democratic voters,
doesn't.
Healthcare. And Senator Sanders, let's start with you. You support Medicare for all, which would eventually take private health insurance away from more than 150 million Americans in exchange for government-sponsored health care for everyone.
Hey, for anybody who,
Congressman Delaney
if you are
just
watching
referred
us
to his bad policy, and previously he has called the idea
if
political
you're watching us currently on YouTube, tell all of your friends to on Facebook to switch over because CNN just took us off of Facebook.
Right now, we have a dysfunctional healthcare system, 87 million uninsured or underinsured, $500,000,
yeah.
500,000 Americans.
Sorry about that. We're trying to figure out how to do all the sharing and stuff. We're doing it all on our own.
Dying while the healthcare industry makes tens of billions of dollars in profit.
Yeah, we're still on Facebook. I mean, on YouTube. So I just shared the link to watch this live on our on the Facebook thing. I put Facebook has blocked us, and I put the link to where they can watch it live.
care is a human right, not a privilege. I believe that. I will fight for that.
Thank you, Senator Sanders.
You can fight for that all you want, but it doesn't change the fact that you don't have a right to somebody else's labor.
Free, and I have a proposal to do it. But we don't have to go around and be the party of subtraction and telling half the country who has private health insurance that their health insurance is illegal.
Yeah, they don't want to hear that.
Electrician loved the health care he got from the IBEW. He would never want someone to take that away. Half of Medicare beneficiaries now have Medicare Advantage, which is private insurance, or supplemental plans. It's also bad policy. It'll underfund the industry. Many hospitals will close, and it's bad policy.
Senator Sanders,
My name was also mentioned in this.
We're going to come to you in 1 second, but let me go to Senator Sanders right now. Senator Sanders?
The fact of the matter is, tens of millions of people lose their health insurance every single year when they change jobs, when their employer changes that insurance. If you want stability in the healthcare system, if you want a system which gives you freedom of choice with regard to doctor or hospital, which is a system which will not bankrupt you, the answer is to get rid of the profiteering of the drug companies and the insurance companies, move to Medicare for all.
But now he's talking about a different issue. What I'm talking about is really simple. We should deal with the tragedy of being uninsured and give everyone health care as a right. But why do we got to be the party of taking something away from people?
No one is the party.
That's what they're running on. They're running on telling half the country that your health insurance is illegal. It says it right in the bill.
All right,
we don't have to do that. We can give everyone health care and allow people to have choice. That's the American way.
Look,
thank you, Congressman. Senator Warren?
So look, let's be clear about this. We are the Democrats. We are not about trying to take away health care from anyone. That's what the Republicans
But the
are
entire, that's the
and
entire
we should
thing that
stop using Republican talking points in order to talk with each other about how to best provide that health care. Now, I want to have a chance to tell the story about my friend, Addie Barkin. Addie is 35 years old. He has a wife, Rachel. He has a cute little boy named Carl. He also has ALS, and it's killing him. Addie has health insurance, good health insurance, and it's not nearly enough.
I'm staying with
What?
you. I'm
That's
staying
not
with
us.
You, but you exceeded your time, and so let me just stay with you on Medicare for
That's
all.
a CNN thing.
At the last debate, you said you're, quote, with Bernie on Medicare for all. Now, Senator Sanders has said that people in the middle class will pay more in taxes.
Yeah,
to help
everyone's
pay for
hearing it
Medicare
like
for
that.
all, though that will be offset by the elimination
This is what
of insurance
CNN wanted to
premiums and
block
other
us.
costs. Are you also, quote, with Bernie on Medicare for all when it comes to...
This is also what CNN wanted to block us from being able to play on Facebook.
Right.
Oh no, you sound like that too.
Yeah, so do you.
Oh God. Well, but I think if it's like last time, it doesn't sound that way to others. Hold on.
This is somebody who has health insurance and is dying. And every month, he has about $9,000 in medical bills that his insurance company won't cover. His wife, Rachel, is on the phone for hours and hours and hours begging the insurance company, please cover what the doctors say he needs. He talks about what it's like to go online, is on thousands of other hours and hours and beg friends, family, and strangers for money so he can cover his medical expenses. The basic profit model of an insurance company is taking as much money as you can in premiums and pay out as little as possible in health care coverage. That is not working for Americans across this country.
Thank you, Senator.
Medicare for all will fix that, and that's why I'll fight for it.
Thank you, Senator. Just a point of clarification, in 15 extra seconds, would you raise taxes on the middle class to pay for Medicare for all? Offset, obviously, by the elimination of insurance premiums. Yes or no?
Costs will go up
to everyone else.
for billionaires and go up for corporations. For middle-class families, total costs will go down.
Governor Bullock, I want to bring you in. You do not support Medicare for all. How do you respond to Senator Warren?
No, healthcare is so personal to all of us. Never forget when my 12-year-old son had a heart attack within 24 hours of his life. Had to be life-flighted to Salt Lake City. But because we had good insurance, he's here with me tonight. At the end of the day, I'm not going to support any plan that rips away quality health care from individuals. This is an example of wish list economics. It used to be just Republicans wanted to repeal and replace. Now many Democrats do as well. We can get there with a public option, negotiating drug prices, ending.
Thank you, Governor Bullock. I want to bring in Mayor Buttigieg on the topic of whether or not the middle class should pay higher taxes in exchange for guaranteed health care and the elimination of insurance premiums. How do you respond, Mayor?
So we don't have to stand up here speculating about whether the public option will be better than, or a Medicare for all environment will be better than the corporate options. We can put it to the test. That's the concept of my Medicare for all who want it proposal. That way, if people like me are right, that the public alternative is going to be not only more comprehensive, but more affordable than any of the corporate options around there. We'll see Americans walk away from the corporate options into that Medicare option, and it will become Medicare for all without us having to kick anybody off their
Just 15 seconds on
Let me see if I can fix this.
You are willing to
well,
raise
no, I'll wait
taxes
till they're
on
not
middle-class
talking.
Americans in order to have universal coverage with the disappearance of insurance premiums, yes or no?
I think you can buy into it. That's the idea of Medicare for all who want it. Look, this is a distinction without a difference, whether you're paying the same money in the form of taxes or premiums. Look, in this country, if you have health coverage, if you don't have health coverage, you're paying too much for care. And if you do have health coverage, you're paying too much for care.
I want to bring in Congressman O'Rourke on the topic of whether the middle class should pay higher taxes in exchange.
If you're making a free option and taxing all the other options to pay for it, everyone's going to pick the free option. So this is just a poison pill for anything resembling market health care. It's just
not only that, but he's saying, you know, if you offer the government option, the Medicare for all option, but you don't force people into it, eventually everybody's going to leave the corporate options, which that way they're just saying, we're going to get you out of the corporate world and we're going to get you over into government, so that way the government's going to be more indoctrinated into your life, more control.
Right. Exactly. So the whole point of making your health care illegal, if you create a free plan and make everyone else that's not on the free plan pay for it and their plan, you're just going to destroy it anyway. So it doesn't, I mean, this is all kind of theater between them on how to do it. It all results in the same thing. You lose your health insurance, you end up on a plan that, in order to have 300 and some odd million people on it, it's going to be a rationed care plan similar to the VA. And it'll be somewhere between Medicaid. It won't be Medicare. It'll be somewhere between Medicaid and the VA, and it'll suck a lot, and your taxes will be through the roof. So that's what they're arguing is your right to be robbed and have terrible health care.
Right.
160 million people
Congressman
that
O'Rourke,
like their
you can respond.
employer-sponsored health insurance.
Congressman O'Rourke,
every estimate that I've seen of expanding ACA, even through a public option, still leaves millions of people uninsured, and also means that people are not guaranteed the health care that they need. As the example that Senator Warren showed us, our plan ensures that
guys who are coming over on YouTube, the reason that Facebook shut us down is because they're bitches.
And this is what they want us to do. They want everyone covered, but they want to be able to.
Well, CNN are also bitches. Facebook and CNN are bitches.
Senator Warren at
Turner
the beginning
bitch
of
casting.
Night said that Democrats cannot bring
bitched out on us.
The White House with small
so,
ideas. And
but YouTube is staying strong so far.
She said the politicians who are not supporting Medicare for all simply lack the will to fight for it. You do not support Medicare for all. Is Senator Warren correct? Do you just not lack the will to fight for it?
That is incorrect. I just have a better way to do this. And in one of my first debates, Jake, I was called a street fighter from the Iron Range by my opponent. And when she said it, I said, thank you. So this is what I think we need to get done. We need the public option. That's what Barack Obama wanted, and it would bring healthcare costs down for everyone. And by the way, I just don't buy this. I've heard some of these candidates say that it's somehow not moral not moral to not have that public option. Well, Senator Sanders was actually on a public option bill last year, and that was Bernie, the Medicaid public option bill that Senator Schatz introduced. Clearly, this is the easiest way to move forward quickly, and I want to get things done. People can't wait. I've got my friend Nicole out there whose son was actually died trying to ration his insulin as a restaurant manager, and he died because he didn't have enough money to pay for it. And Bernie and I
Insulin's expensive because of government protection of intellectual property.
I'm going to go to Senator Sanders, then Senator Warren.
Which is also why you're having to watch this on YouTube.
Bill,
Right.
let me clear
I
up
also
one
couldn't
thing.
understand a word.
Is people talk about having insurance. There are millions of people who have insurance. They can't go to the doctor, and when they come out of the hospital, they go bankrupt. All right? What I am talking about, and others up here are talking about, is no deductibles and no co-payments. And Jake, your question is a Republican talking point. At the end of the day, and by the way, the healthcare industry will be advertising tonight on this program.
Thank you, Senator. Senator Warren, it's your turn.
Oh, can I complete that, please?
Your
Did
time
you
is
call
up.
out the advertisers of this program?
With that talking point.
Senator Warren.
So we have to think of this in terms of the big frame. What's the problem in Washington? It works great for the wealthy. It works great for those who can hire armies of lobbyists and lawyers. And it keeps working.
So let's
great
give
for
them
the
more
insurance
power.
companies and
Right.
the drug companies.
Let's give
What
the
it's going to take
organization
is real courage to fight back against them.
that
These
does really
insurance
well for
companies do
people
not
with
have
armies of
God-given
lobbyists.
right
Let's
to
give
make
them all the
$23
power.
billion in
That will
profits and
definitely
suck it out
fix
of our healthcare
our problems.
system.
Thank you,
They
Senator.
do not
Chris
have
Reynolds,
a God-given
Thank you,
right
Senator.
to put forms in place.
Personal attorney Chris Reynolds attorney law. He was asking me why Bernie and Elizabeth Warren.
Hold on. Say that again.
Chris Reynolds, attorney at law, was asking. He was asking me earlier today, and he just mentioned it in the comments. But he said, "Tell us why Warren and Bernie are different." And for all intents and purposes, they really aren't.
They aren't. Other than Bernie's been at this long, so I guess they've met in the same spot. The big difference is Bernie started his career as a communist and is now a social democrat. Liz Warren started her career as a center-left progressive and is now a social democrat. So I guess their trajectories. I guess if you keep going, Bernie will eventually be just a progressive, and Liz Warren will be a tanky, full-on communist. But right now, in this very moment in time, I don't see a discernible difference other than one is they're intersectional points. One's a Jew and one's a woman who tried to pretend she was native.
Right.
Other than that, no.
One's a woman who pretended she was native, and the other's a Jew who pretends to know economics.
Pretends to what?
Economics.
Yes. Yeah, well, she does too.
And what they've done is they've sucked billions of dollars out of our healthcare system. And they force people to have to fight to try to get the healthcare coverage that their doctors and nurses say that they need. Why does everybody?
She's
why does
describing
every doctor,
Obamacare,
Why does every
by the way.
hospital
Right.
have to fill out so many complicated forms? It's because it gives insurance companies a chance to say no and to push that cost back on the patients.
Thank you, Senator
That's
Warren. I want
what
to
we
bring
have
in
to fight.
Marianne Williamson.
Medicare has a higher rate of denial than private health care. Everyone shut up now.
I don't know if Senator Warren said that about me specifically. I admire very much what Senator Warren has said and what Bernie has said. But I have to say, I'm normally way over there with Bernie and Elizabeth on this one. I hear the others, and I have some concern about that as well. And I do have concern about what the Republicans would say, and that's not just a Republican talking point. I do have concern that it will be difficult. I have concern that it will make it harder to win, and I have a concern that it will make it harder to govern. Because if that's our big fight,
Thank you,
then
Ms.
the
Williamson.
Republicans will so shut
I want
us
to bring
down
in
on
Mayor
everything
Buttigieg.
else.
Mayor Buttigieg,
It is
your response?
time to stop worrying about what the Republicans will say. Look,
Yes.
if it's true that if we embrace a far left agenda, they're going to say we're a bunch of crazy socialists. If we embrace a conservative agenda, you know what they're going to do? They're going to say we're a bunch of crazy socialists. So let's just stand up for the right policy, go out there and defend it. That's the policy I'm putting forward, not because I think it's the right triangulation between Republicans here and Democrats there, because I think it's the right answer for people like my mother-in-law who is here, whose life was saved by the ACA, but who is still far too vulnerable to the fact that the insurance industry does not care about her.
Senator Sanders, your response?
Let's be clear what this debate is about. Nobody can defend the dysfunctionality of the current system. What we are taking on is the fact that over the last 20 years, the drug companies and the insurance companies have spent $4.5 billion of your health insurance money on lobbying and campaign contributions. That is why, when I went to Canada the other day, people paid 1/10 the price in Canada for insulin that they're paying in the United States.
People in Canada are driving to Buffalo to see a walk-in doctor because of the rationing of care, leading to it being very difficult to get in front of someone to give you a basic, simple prescription. So that's the Canadian system.
You also have you're 7 times more likely to die from a disease in Canada than the same disease in America.
Yeah. And you're several times more likely to die before an official diagnosis because of how long it takes to get in front of a specialist to get the care you want. So when they're talking about their ideal system, Canada is their ideal system. The current Medicare system is incredibly lavish because they're only giving it to a certain group of people. And yet that system is so lavish that the U.S. government is already spending more money per patient than Canada is, than the Canadian government is.
Right.
If you expand that out to 330 million people, they're not going to be able to keep it lavish, which is why calling it Medicare for all is such a lie. It's somewhere between Medicaid for all and the VA for all. Go ask someone who's on Medicaid or the VA if they're happy with it, with their plan.
I wrote the damn bill. Second of all, many of our union brothers and sisters, nobody more pro-union than me up here, are now paying high deductibles and co-payments. And when we do Medicare for all, instead of having the company putting money into healthcare, they can get decent wage increases, which they're not getting today.
I want to bring in Congressman Ryan to respond to what Senator Sanders.
How are they going to get decent wage increases if the taxes on everything goes up? And what will that even mean?
And even if you do get the decent wage increases, it's just going to mean more automation of jobs, which means more people out of work, which means more people on welfare, which means more people on just free healthcare that everybody else is that the people who are working are paying for. It is not it is a system that will itself from the inside out.
It's free. It's free dying sooner, but it's free. It's free unless you buy anything or own anything or make any money, then it's not free and you're going to die sooner. But other than that, it's totally free. Why does Marianne Williamson sound like easily the most reasonable person on the stage?
Yeah,
Am I the only one? Am I the only one noticing that she seems like the most reasonable person?
Electrician will have that health care plan taken away from him.
Thank you,
They
Congressman.
will be forced into an underfunded system.
I want to give Senator Sanders a chance to respond.
Under Medicare for all, the hospitals will save substantial sums of money because they're not going to be spending a fortune doing billing and the other bureaucratic things that they have to do today. Second of all, maybe you did that and made money off of healthcare, but our job is to run a nonprofit healthcare system.
Sarah Anderegg says, I just want to hear Williamson and nobody else. I'm sort of, yeah, me too.
A year by ending all of the incredible complexities that are driving every American crazy. Trying to deal with the health insurance company.
Thank you,
hospitals
Senator.
will be better
Congressman
off
Delaney,
than
I
they are
want to let
today.
you have a chance to respond.
Listen, his math is wrong. That's all I'm saying. That his math is wrong. It's been well documented that if all the bills were paid at Medicare rate, which is specifically, I think it's in section 1200 of their bill, then many hospitals in this country would close. I've been going around rural America, and I ask rural hospital administrators one question. If all your bills were paid at the Medicare rate last year, what would happen? And they all look at me and say, we would close. But the question is, why do we have to be so extreme? Why can't we just give everyone health care as a right and allow them to have choice? I'm starting to
You just negated. He just explained how this system is going to lead to massive rationing, and then says, but let's just give it to everyone as a right. It's a right. Okay, you just detailed. And that's at the Medicare payout. The Medicaid payout is a joke. The Medicaid payout is all the hospitals close and now you say the government goes, well, these greedy hospitals closed down. We need government hospitals. And now you have VA for all. Congratulations.
Is there anything we can do about the sound?
I'm hoping. The good news is they aren't hearing what we're hearing, which is like lizard people. Which actually, you know what? We're probably hearing the real thing. These are probably all lizard people. Although I guess that means we're lizard people too.
That would mean
When they
lizard people as well.
When they stop talking, I'm going to reset my mixer, and hopefully that'll fit. I just don't want to do that in the middle of this.
No, I get it. Okay.
But yes, I find it incredibly annoying. Oh, here.
But he needs it to be a crisis rather than an achievement. That will end on my watch.
Just a point of clarification. You did raise your hand in the last debate. You do want to decriminalize crossing the border illegally.
So in my view, if fraud is involved, then that's suitable for the criminal statute. If not, then it should be handled under civil law. But these show of hands are exactly what is wrong with the way that this race is being covered.
We're not doing that here.
We appreciate that.
Thank you. Congressman O'Rourke, you live near the U.S.-Mexico border in El Paso.
Oh, God.
You disagree with Mayor Buttigieg on decriminalizing legal border crossings. Please respond.
I do, because in my administration, after we have waived citizenship fees for green card holders, more than 9 million of our fellow Americans, freed dreamers from any fear of deportation, and stopped criminally prosecuting families and children for seeking asylum and refuge, and for-profit detention in this country, and then assist
Not
those
detention,
countries in Central
for-profit
America
detention.
that no family ever has
for-profit
to make
detention.
that
That's a
2,000-mile journey.
This is.
Then I expect that
let me
people who come here
mute this
follow
schmuck for a
our
second.
laws.
You'll notice that the Democrats don't get upset about detention or prisons. They get upset about for-profit prisons or private prisons and private detention, for-profit detention. The message there is very simple. We want the government to be fully in charge of these facilities. That's literally all it's about. Fewer than 8% of the people that are in prison are in private prisons, and yet all we hear about is that 8%, not the 92% that are in prisons with even worse conditions that are run by the government. We hear about that 8% because they don't care about the fact that millions of people are being caged. They're worried that those cages aren't completely run by the government. That's literally all this is about, is government control. And the right's no better on this because the right wants to lock up even more people. So again, neither side's helpful in this. But the left, who you would think would be helpful, they care about the private part of it, not the. And meanwhile, there's no such thing as a private prison. They're contracted by the government. It's a for-profit prison.
Washington is there kicking the ball back and forth. Secure the borders. Make sure whatever law we have doesn't allow children to be snatched from their parents and put in cages. How hard can that be? We've got, I don't know, on the 2 debate nights, we've got 170 years of Washington experience. Somehow it seems like that should be fairly fixable.
Well, and one way to fix it is to
decriminalize.
That's the whole point. What we're looking for here is a way to take away the tool that Donald Trump has used to break up families.
What's that?
Hickenlooper's talking about he's talking about how we can't give in to socialism, and he's saying that we need to secure the borders. Based on just those two things, he could run as a Republican in today's election.
In today's election cycle, he could absolutely do that. He's running as his talking points are what the 2024 Republican talking points are going to be, and they'll be called crazy conservatives for it. Like that's how we're moving. Oh, Kiss My Bass says, do you think we should lock people up for usury? For those who don't know, usury is loans at an incredibly high rate. I'm not sure why I would lock someone up for offering a loan. If you don't want the loan, don't take it.
Right.
So I'm not sure what that has to do with
you're choosing to take the loan.
Yeah, just I think that don't take the loan or take a loan from another company. And frankly, I mean, when you look at these title loan rates and things like that, the reason they're so high to begin with is because of the rate of default and the cost of reclaiming that money. You're paying for the fact that most people who are paying off title loans are going to be hard to actually get that money back from. And, whether it's pawn shops or title loans or whatever else, check into cash, any of these things, like, there's such a high rate of default that in order for them to make any real money, they've got to, like, I mean, these are no credit check loans for thousands of dollars to people that don't have dozens of dollars. So what did you expect the rate was going to be?
Right.
Look, I think this is a part of the discussion that shows how often these debates are detached from people's lives. We got 100,000 people showing up at the border right now. If we decriminalize entry, if we get health care to everyone, we'll have multiples of that. Don't take my word. That was President Obama's Homeland Security Secretary that said that. The biggest problem right now that we have with immigration.
We've got a couple 2024 Republicans
He's
here.
using immigration to not only rip apart families, but rip apart this country. We can actually get to the point where we have both safe borders, where we have a path to citizenship, where we have opportunities for dreamers. And you don't have to decriminalize everything. What you have to do is have a president in there with the judgment and the decency to treat someone that comes to the border like one of our own.
You know, I just
Senator,
like to add on this.
He just said your plan is unrealistic. How do you respond?
You know, I think that what we have to do is we have to be an America that is clear about what we want to do with immigration. We need to expand legal immigration. We need to create a path for citizenship, not just for dreamers, but for grandmas and for people who have been working here in the farms and for students who have overstayed their visas. We need to fix the crisis at the border. And a big part of how we do that is we do not play into Donald Trump's hands. But he wants to stir up the crisis at the border because that's his overall message. It's if there's anything wrong in your life,
Thank you,
blame
Senator Warren.
them.
Governor Bullock, your response.
But you are playing into Donald Trump's hands. The challenge isn't that it's a criminal offense to cross the border. The challenge is that Donald Trump is president and using this to rip families apart. A sane immigration system needs a sane leader. And we can do that without decriminalizing, providing health care for everyone. And it's not me saying that. That's Obama's Homeland Security Secretary.
Yeah, no one cares what Obama's Homeland Security Secretary said like a few years ago. The Democratic Party is not, like, both parties are moving to the authoritarian left at a breakneck speed. So no, this is not. And for my fellow open border libertarians, the open border system that the Democrats propose is basically, it's not an open border as in people are free to come and go as they wish. It's basically subsidized mass immigration through welfare magnates and actually direct money to help pay for them to be brought here and then put on all these free programs that they're talking about. So I mean, this is not a system of freedom of movement or something like that. This is about making the U.S. into a gigantic, massive authoritarian welfare state. So neither side's right on this.
I'm wondering if Tim Ryan's really excited that he doesn't have to go up against Hawaii, the one all the libertarians.
Tulsi Gabbard.
Yeah, I'm wondering if he's glad he doesn't have to go up against Tulsi Gabbard in this debate because she schooled the crap out of him in the last one.
She thwacked him. In that last one. I'm sure he's happy, but I mean, right now he's kind of this is becoming the Bernie Sanders and Liz Warren show.
Which is what I figured I figured that was what they were going to do.
Right. I'd say Marianne's gotten the least amount of mic time.
But Steve Bullock has actually he's had some good face presence.
Yeah, he's kind of pulled for it, though. I think this is one of those things where if you're not Bernie Sanders, Liz Warren, or Beto, they're kind of screwing Beto, too. It's like if you're not... Here we go.
And the Democratic Party needs to understand that we should be the party that talks not just about symptoms, but also about causes. When we're talking about health care, we need to talk about more than just the health care plan. We need to realize we have a sickness care rather than a health care system. We need to be the party talking about why so many of our chemical policies and our food policies and our agricultural policies and our environmental policies and even our economic policies are leading to people getting sick to begin with.
Thank you.
That's what the Democratic, but I want to say more about—
Why do they keep cutting her off? Like,
they're only giving her like—
Thank you, Ms. Williamson.
She gets like
Let's turn now to
20
the issue of gun
seconds.
violence. There were 3 large-scale shootings this past weekend in America. At a park in Brooklyn, on the streets of Philadelphia, and one that left 3 dead and 12 injured at a food festival in Gilroy, California. Mayor Buttigieg, other than offering words of comfort, what are you specifically going to do to stop this epidemic of gun violence?
Well, this epidemic of gun violence has hit my community.
Murder is dropping, is at an all-time low and has been dropping for roughly 40 years now. So there is no epidemic. Just like there's no epidemic of violence against police, there's no epidemic of gun violence. The murder rate has been steadily dropping year over year. Every once in a while there'll be a year where it's a little bit higher, but it has the murder rate in 2019 is lower than the murder rate in 2016, which is lower than the murder rate in 2013, and so on and so forth, all the way back to like I think 1975 or something like that. So all of this is, we just want to control, just like border control isn't about the border, gun control isn't about the guns, it's about control.
Right, but I mean, it's not actually about the people who are being killed. They don't care about that.
They don't care about that at all.
Like you said, they worry about control, and 2, they worry that the press is the one that's making it into an epidemic, and they are only worried about sales of their newspaper. They need their clicks, they need their advertisers, they need their sponsorships. And it's the easiest way to get it is by promoting this myth that we're in the middle of a mass shooting gun epidemic of people just murdering in the streets for no reason. So they continue to push it. CNN does it all the time. They need to.
Yeah. And it's a fear cycle. So when 24-hour news came to 24-hour news is great. Jon Stewart has said this before. 24-hour news is awesome for dealing with crisis like 9/11 or some huge event that needs around-the-clock coverage. When that ends and we're just in a regular news cycle, well, now you have to fill that void. You have to create a reason that someone would want to watch the news every waking hour. And it can't just be interesting personalities giving their hot takes on stuff. We're doing that, and we give you a couple hours a day, 5 days a week when Jason's on. Doing that for 24 hours requires creating some kind of reason that you have to be watching. Your life could be in danger, and that's what they do with this stuff. The right-wing media outlets are doing it with immigration. The immigrants are going to come and take your jobs, and they're going to kill you. They're, violent criminal. MS-13 is coming to murder you in your sleep. And if it's not them, then it's the Muslims, the terrorists. They're coming. Blah blah blah. On the left, it's the guns, and guns are coming in the hands of terrible white supremacists who are all coming to kill you in your sleep or enslave you or whatever else. The Confederate statues are coming to destroy your life, and they make these crises that get you to A, watch their programming, and B, support their favorite authoritarian politicians to rob you of your basic natural rights, of which healthcare is not one.
Right. And I know that we've kind of got them on mute, but one of the things that Klobuchar was just saying was that a 6-year-old boy was killed. And that is the biggest thing that they're going to try. We need to do this to save the kids, because nobody wants to vote against saving the kids, because nobody wants to see kids die, which, yeah, none of us want to see kids die. It's absolutely
no one wants a dead kid. Yeah. Yep.
Right. None of us want a bunch of dead kids. But at the same time, what they are doing strictly is that what they're doing is they are making it so it is almost impossible to vote against what they're going for. Anytime that there's some policy that they want to get enacted, it will always come down to the kids. We need to save the kids. So
we have to do it. Won't somebody please think of the children? Yeah.
Right. Yeah. We got to think of the children. If we can save just one child, it's worth it. And it's that is their go-to move. And they do this on both sides. They absolutely do this on both sides.
Yep.
I'm not just singling out the left here, but the Democrats when it comes to guns, they're like, if we can save just one life, if we can just stop, these children from dying, it would be worth it for us to pass these legislations. And that is what that's the entire basis of how they are trying to ban guns. But the reason they are trying to ban it is just for more control over your lives.
Yep. Yeah, they care so much about the lives of children that they continue this perpetual drone bombing campaign around the world, which results in literally hundreds of innocent children being killed every year. That's how much they care about children. The murder rate, including the murder of children, peaked in the late 60s and 70s. This happened shortly after a few events that happened, which were the Kennedy assassination. I'm not doing them in chronological order. The Kennedy assassination, the Martin Luther King assassination, the Kent State shootings, and the protest riots and demonstrations by Black Panthers and other groups like that, where scary black people were carrying guns in public. And in response to that, there was a rash of gun control both at the federal, state, and city levels, which resulted in a massive increase in the murder rate because fewer people had guns. It was centralized in the hands of people who didn't give crap what the law was, including the politicians. And so you saw a massive increase in the murder rate. Coming into the 70s, the murder rate flattened and then slowly started to drop into the late 70s and early 80s as many of those gun control laws started to expire. A lot of them were 10-year laws. They reached their sunset. They were not renewed, and some of them were repealed as being unconstitutional at the federal level, at the various court levels. And so you started to see it drop and drop and drop and drop. There was a little bit of an uptick right around the time they did the assault weapons ban. That hit sunset in 2004, and you have again seen a steady drop from the late 1970s with a couple hiccups, but a steady across-the-board drop in the murder rate coming into this year, where it's at literally all-time lows in American history. The murder rate has continued to drop. And it's not just because gun control has been repealed. It's because over the many factors that have made us safer and safer. But the idea that there is some kind of rash of murders is simply wrong. The fact that they focus on gun violence as though it's better if you got stabbed or there. I remember there was a episode of All in the Family where where Archie Bunker's daughter was saying something about gun violence and people being killed by guns, and Archie says, "Would you feel better if they was pushed out of windows?" And it's what matters is people being murdered, whether it's by gun, knife, bare hand, car, whatever. The murder rates continue to drop. This is the safest time. You're living in the absolute safest time it's ever been to be an American. So the idea that we should be handing over our weapons to the most violent entity in the country is laughable.
Have D.C. actually be a state and depoliticize the Supreme Court with structural reform? People look at me funny, as if this country were incapable of structural reform. Does anybody really think we're going to overtake Citizens United without constitutional action? This is a country that once changed its constitution so you couldn't drink, and then changed it back because we changed our minds about that. And you're telling me we can't reform our democracy in our time?
Thank you, Mayor.
We have to, or we'll be having the same
Bullock,
argument 20 years from now.
Please respond, Governor Bullock.
You can make changes. Even in Montana, with a 2/3 Republican legislature, we passed a law that said, if you're going to spend money in our elections, I don't care if you call yourself Americans for America, you're going to have to disclose every one of those dollars in the last 90 days. I'll never forget run for re-election in 2016. Even we stopped the Koch brothers from spending at that time. If we can kick the Koch brothers out of Montana, we can do it in D.C., we can do it everywhere. And we're also taking steps, additional steps.
You have people who want to run the country who are demonizing two private citizens for spending money to advocate for what they personally believe, which in the case of the Koch brothers is a fairly good libertarian, freedom-based policy, but whatever it is. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm interrupting the orb mother.
For politicians, including my fellow candidates, who themselves have taken tens of thousands and in some cases hundreds of thousands of dollars from these same corporate donors, to think that they now have the moral authority to say, we're going to take them on, I don't think the Democratic Party should be surprised that so many Americans believe yada, yada, yada. It is time for us to start over with people who have not taken donations from any of these corporations and can say with real moral authority, that is over. We are going to establish public funding for federal campaigns. That's what we need to stand up to. We need to have a constitutional amendment. We need to have legislation to do it. And until we do it, it's just the same old, same old.
Marianne coming out strong.
That was a strong hot take there. I am about to reset this bastard. Hold on a second.
This bastard.
Oh my lord. Hold on, please work.
Yeah.
As it was.
So, I know that everybody out there could hear us fine, but what it sounded like to us was like when a CD.
Yeah, it sounds like a freaking terrible thing. Hold on.
Oh, I'm not gonna be able to talk during this.
Oh, that's. Ow.
Well, you sound fine to me.
Say something now.
Okay, so.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, you started sounding fine. Yeah, so to us, it sounded like a CD was just constantly skipping, but you weren't losing anything. Like, it wasn't skipping back or skipping forward. You're just catching like parts of words, and it was making it very difficult to pay attention to that.
I'm just making sure that still sounds good to them. It didn't like reverse, and now they hear lizard people.
Right. Let us know. You guys sound fine?
Yeah, no, it sounds good. It sounds good. I listen. Yeah. Yes, thank God. What up?
Lost any time on you doing that. So yeah, Marianne killed it there at the end.
That was pretty impressive.
That was really impressive. That was really truly impressive. I was honestly she's coming out strong.
And they're giving her like 20 seconds at a time. Like she's got like
I think she only talked 4 times during that entire hour.
It's
so
crazy.
She only talked for like a total of 2.5 minutes. But she so I was watching some YouTube clips of her, and I saw a clip of The View, and they crushed her.
Yeah.
I don't know the names of any of the people. Like I know McCain and
Meghan McCain and yeah.
But one of them was like, I was watching it with my daughter or my son or something, and he said, "Mom, what are the qualifications to be president?" And I told him that there's an age you have to be, but that's about it. And he goes, "Well, maybe there should be some." And they were just bashing Marianne. But Marianne, like in my personal opinion, I think Spike's too. I'm not 100% sure, but I think that Marianne actually was the winner of the first debate, because when she first started that debate, nobody knew who she was.
No one knew who she was.
Now she is a household name. Now she is massively searched. She's getting donations from people on both sides of the aisle because people on the right just want to see her continue to be in the debate.
Right.
I think that she actually has the ability to catapult into later and later debates based on this and have her ideas be heard.
Yeah, I know. I agree.
It would be the greatest upset of all time if she ended up winning this thing, and I don't think she will. But if she does, like, she has the momentum to do it behind her. She has a rabid base behind her right now, much like Trump did right about this same period of time.
Yeah. It's kind of weird, the trajectory. Yeah.
Right. And I would love to see a debate between Trump, Marianne, and Kim Ruff. I think that would be the greatest debate to watch.
That's why I'm voting for Marianne in the Democratic primary. It will be my first time voting in a Democratic primary, or for any Democrat, I think. And the reason I'm doing it is because 2 things. One, I want to see her, Kim Ruff, and Trump on a debate stage, like Matt just said. And then the other reason is because if somehow she got elected, Congress would be so apoplectic at someone who wants to dismantle the military-industrial complex And I like Tulsi on the military industrial complex thing, but she talks about like how it harms military readiness and how, you know, vets coming home and all legitimate, you know, concerns. But Marianne talks about it from like a hippie peacenik. We must heal the trauma being caused by this. And I would just like to see the military brass have to deal with a woman who has made her career on like healing crystals and positive thoughts and like self-affirming mantras. Like I really want that.
Did you say mantras?
Mantras. Like she has this big thing about like when you mantra. Don't give me a hard time about my pronunciation. Ramen noodles. Ramen noodles.
Spike eats ramen noodles and practices mantras.
Mantras with my ramen noodles. Leave me alone. But yeah, so I mean, my ideal is Kim Ruff, but I just would like to see Marianne. Can you Marianne, Trump, and Kim Ruff? You want what else could you possibly want, America?
I mean, if you're just looking for an absolute crap show of a debate, like I'm not rooting for this even a little bit. Not even a little bit am I rooting for this. I want Kim Ruff to get that nomination so bad. But Trump, Marianne, Arvin Vohra. That would be just like for I can't think of any other word. It would be a shit show of a debate.
Oh man.
But I want Kim Ruff. Like I want Kim Ruff.
I really like Kim.
Represent better than anybody else.
I really like Kim, but then, oh wow. Just for pure entertainment value.
Just for the entertainment value. But I'm rooting Kim Ruff. Like I am saying that here and now. I am rooting Kim Ruff.
Yeah.
But yeah. God, that would be something.
Oh man. Wow, talk about putting what you need before what you want, huh? Listen, look at this. Okay, so they have an entire segment on whether Sanders is too extreme for Trump. But yet Marianne Williamson gets 15 seconds to talk at a time.
Can we get some volume on Bernie there?
What's that?
Can we get some Bernie volume?
Yeah.
Where I won the Democratic primary, and Pennsylvania. And the reason we are going to defeat Trump and beat him badly is that he is a fraud and a phony, and we're going to expose him for what he is. The American
no one knows who
people
Trump
want
is.
To have a minimum wage, which is a living wage, $15 an hour. I've helped lead that effort. The American people want to pay reasonable prices for prescription drugs, not the highest prices in the world. I've helped lead the effort for that as well.
Governor Hickenlooper, I want to bring you back to respond.
So, again, I think if we're going to force Americans to make these radical changes, they're not going to go along. You throw your hands up, but you haven't. Oh, I can do it. But you haven't implemented the plans. Us governors and mayors are the ones that we have to pick up all the pieces when suddenly the government's supposed to take over all these responsibilities and there's no preparation, the details aren't worked. You can't just spring a plan on the world and expect it to succeed.
Senator Sanders.
John, I was a mayor and I helped transform my city. I have some practical experience.
He was rated the worst mayor of Burlington, Vermont, a heavily Democratic city. Hated him. He was such a bad mayor that he was routinely featured on, I forget whether it was ABC's 2020 or 60 Minutes one, but they had a thing called The Fleecing of America, where they would talk about how small town government screwed the American people of the people of that city, and he was routinely featured on there on The Fleecing of America. And he's now talking about how he was mayor.
Bernie Sanders has somehow managed to fail up from a hippie
his entire life, yeah.
From a hippie commune to the mayor of Burlington to senator, and now he's trying to fail up to president. Like, how
he was kicked out of the commune, right?
Yeah, he was kicked out of the commune for not doing enough work.
Failed up to governor of Vermont. But see, here's where he's ideal, is in a legislature where he can just talk and propose stuff. And like Hickenlooper said, just leave it to someone else to actually do. He couldn't do when he was in the commune. He couldn't do when he was the mayor. But he could talk crap about how things should be all day long. I mean, imagine how easy it is to be a Democrat politician. You just propose free stuff, and Republicans are doing it too now. But imagine being a progressive, and literally all you have to do in order to see how you want things to happen, all you have to do is just wait, because either party's going to eventually bring it to you. Now, imagine being a conservative who defends the system and government under which that reality exists.
Governor Bullock, we're talking.
I like how when they talk about how they're going to beat Donald Trump, it's just like, we're going to expose him as a racist. Everyone already knows who Donald Trump is and already has their opinion about it.
You either think he's a racist or you don't think he's a racist.
You either think he's
colluded or you don't think he colluded. You think he philandered. Everybody thinks that. Everyone
knows that.
This isn't just a choice between the left and the center. It's not a choice just between sort of these wish list economics or thinking that we have to sacrifice our values to actually win. What folks want is a fair shot. The way I won, the way we can win is actually focusing on the economy, and democracy aren't working for most people.
Thank you,
That's
Governor.
how I win. That's how we can take back the office.
Senator Warren, you make it a point to say that you're a capitalist. Is that your way of convincing voters that you might be a safer choice than Senator Sanders?
No, it is my way of talking about I know how to fight and I know how to win. I took on giant banks and I beat them. I took on Wall Street
What does
and
that mean?
CEOs and their lobbyists and their lawyers, and I beat them. I took on a popular Republican incumbent senator, and I beat him.
Okay.
I remember when people
turn
said
that down.
Barack Obama.
Wait. Oh, no. What?
She took on Scott Brown, Senator Scott Brown.
Lost.
What's that?
I said and lost, but go ahead.
She beat Scott Brown. She beat Scott Brown, who won in a special election after Ted Kennedy died, and he was the popular incumbent. Now,
That's right.
Yeah, Scott Brown was popular. He was popular, but we're talking about an area in Massachusetts that Ted Kennedy, who one time killed a woman and got away with it, and stayed in Congress until the day he died. Totally fine. Ran for president, ruined his presidential hope when it came out about the wreck at Chappaquiddick. But
in Massachusetts,
didn't matter. So when he passed away, Scott Brown won, and it was because Scott Brown did fantastic in the debates. That wasn't even close to being a question. But
Right.
even Scott was shocked when he won. Scott wasn't expecting it. And so when he had to go up for re-election shortly after he was already elected, he lost to Elizabeth Warren, the Democrat, because that was what was going to happen.
It's a plus 50D state.
Right.
Not district. The state is heavily Democrat. Her claim to fame is that she's more electable than Martha Coakley, who lost to Scott Brown. She was so terrible that she grew up in Massachusetts and didn't know how to spell Massachusetts.
Right. And
that's how terrible she was.
And in all transparency, I'm friends with Scott's daughter. Like, she's a good friend of mine. And I have no problem saying the only reason he won is because he did great in the debates and because Coakley did awful.
Terribly. In the entire campaign. It's Massachusetts.
But Scott couldn't win in New Hampshire.
No.
There's no, it's, I won against the popular incumbent Republican in Massachusetts.
In Massachusetts.
No, you didn't.
What a weird talking point.
Get done. The stakes are too high.
Senator Warren.
So look, he talks.
We'll come to you.
They're
right after
still talking about this.
he talks about solutions that are workable, we have tried the solution of Medicare, Medicaid, and private insurance. And what have the private insurance companies done? They've sucked billions of dollars out of our healthcare system. They've made everybody fill out dozens and dozens of forms. Why? Not because they're trying to track your healthcare. They just want more.
Again, Medicaid and Medicare have higher refusal rates, higher rates of denial than private insurance. Medicaid's is actually higher. I think they actually deny more than they approve. So any talking point about how and private health insurance is I mean, like our health system is a nightmare because of government. But if that's their talking point, is that, you know, people are being denied by their insurance companies, it will be worse under Medicare and Medicaid. And in the VA, they just basically just want you to go kill yourself somewhere. That's pretty much like, I mean, forget cancer treatment. Like, if you have depression, they just want you to kill yourself. Like, that's the reality of government healthcare.
Among other things, making public colleges and universities tuition free and canceling student debt.
Thank you, Senator. Thank you, Senator. I want to bring in Senator Klobuchar. At the beginning of the night, you said you're going to hear a lot of promises on the stage. And previously you have said, when asked about your primary opponents, quote, a lot of people are making promises and I'm not going to make promises just to get elected. Who on the stage is making promises just to get elected?
Everybody.
Everyone wants to get elected. But my point is this. I think when we have a guy in the White House that has now told over 10,000 lies, that we better be very straightforward with the American people. And no, do I think that we are going to end up voting for a plan that kicks half of America off of their current insurance in 4 years? No, I don't think we're going to do that. I think there is a better way to get what we all want to see, which is lower costs for health care. Do I think that we're going to vote to give free college to
I wonder,
the wealthiest
am I like
kids?
that?
No,
I've never
I
looked
don't
at my
think
mouth
we're gonna
when I
do
talk.
that.
No,
So
my
that's what
mouth
I'm talking
doesn't-
about. But what I don't like about this argument right now, what I don't like about it at all, is that we are more worried about winning an argument than winning an election. And I think
Is that how you achieve a Midwestern accent, by talking like that?
No, I don't think so. Because you need to do like the hard A's and stuff, like Chicago.
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 Yeah, my mouth goes back to center.
Yeah, hers is just a little bit off.
This one just got a little thing there. It's not quite as exaggerated as mine, but it's pretty intense. It's got a thing. Okay.
highest voter turnout
Thank
in the
you, Senator.
country.
I want to bring
That's what we
Congressman
want.
O'Rourke. Congressman O'Rourke, please respond.
You know, I think a big part of leadership and showing our commitment to the American people is delivering on our commitments. As a member of Congress, when I learned that the El Paso VA had the worst wait times for mental health care in the country, meaning that care delayed functionally became care denied and was related to the suicide epidemic, we made it our priority and we turned around the VA in El Paso. We took that lesson nationally. And I worked with Republican and Democratic colleagues to expand mental health care to veterans, and we got it signed into law by the one person with whom I agree on almost nothing, Donald Trump, to show that at the end of the day, we will put the American people first, before party, before any other concern.
Thank you, Congressman O'Rourke. We've been asking voters to weigh in on what they'd most like to hear Democrats debate. Among the topics they told us they're most interested in, the climate crisis. Congressman Delaney, I'll start with you. You say the Green New Deal is about as realistic
the hell
as Trump
they
saying
did
Mexico
not.
is going to
Yeah, I
pay
was
for
going
the
to say,
wall. But
you
scientists say
pulled
we need
9 people
essentially to
that
eliminate
were standing
fossil
outside in
fuel
Greenpeace
pollution by
shirts.
2050 to avoid the most catastrophic consequences. Why
No,
isn't this
in the
sweeping plan to fight
hell
the climate
did they not hear that was one of the most pressing, one of meaning of the top 35 things? Sure. Not a shot in hell did they poll the average, even Democrat voter, and they said climate change.
Climate change.
And by the way, I'm someone who believes that there's sufficient data to at least entertain the idea that human activity is contributing at least mildly to global warming or climate change, whatever you want to call it, and that there are free market solutions like nuclear energy that we could be using to combat that or to reduce the reduce the climate footprint. But there is not a by the way, implementation, removing nuclear from the grid and adding renewables actually leads to more fossil fuel burning to offset the time that renewables aren't actually making any energy. So if you actually support climate change, fighting climate change, then you would support nuclear. But there's not a shot in the same universe where a lot of Democrats said that was their most pressing concern is the same universe where tilapia is better than salmon.
Right, which there isn't one.
There is not one.
There is not. Is tilapia a real fish, or is that one of the like?
So it's technically no. It's not an actual species of fish. It's something that's been farmed and created. What's great about tilapia is that you can dig a hole in the mud in like these places that are poverty stricken and people are starving. You can dig a hole in the mud and you can plant some of these eggs and they can live on almost nothing, and grow in actual like mud where there's actually a layer of mud over it. They are filthy fish. Pretty much all commercially bought tilapia grew on Vietnamese sewage. Okay, so there's the ultimate Vietnam won that war. You're eating their poop fish and paying for it. But you're going to give me a hard time about eating Alaskan salmon.
Which, Alaskan salmon is quite possibly the most delicious thing I've ever eaten in my life.
It is great. It is great. There are many vulgar things I want to say about people that go, it smells funny. That's what lemon juice is for.
It's too fishy.
It's fishy.
It's fishy.
I don't want to get into...
delicious.
I don't want to get into males who have a problem with fishiness, because we could do a whole show about that, which I will.
Wow.
But suffice it to say, salmon is great. Whatever these people are talking about is not as important as this tilapia versus salmon debate, which has now ended because
Elizabeth Warren versus John Hickenlooper.
The salmon versus tilapia debate of CNN, no doubt, I'm sure is what they're having.
Tim Ryan just always looks sad.
I'd be sad too.
A bill that would eliminate new gas-powered car sales by 2040. Given the number of auto manufacturing workers in your state, how concerned are you about Senator Sanders' plan?
Well, if we get our act together, we won't have to worry about it. My plan is to create a chief manufacturing officer so we could actually start making things in the United States again that would pull the government, the Department of Energy, Department of Transportation, work with the private sector, work with investors, emerging tech companies to dominate the electric vehicle market. China dominates it now, 50 to 60%. I want us to dominate the battery market, make those here in the United States and cut the workers in on the deal. The charging stations, solar panels, same thing. China dominates 60% of the solar panel market.
Because it's cheaper to make it there.
Report directly to me, and we're going to start making things.
It's not because they have a chief manufacturing officer. It's because it's cheaper to make it there.
Convert our industrial agriculture system over to a sustainable and regenerative agriculture
Fraction
system.
of a dollar.
What?
You're only paying the fraction of a dollar a day
You can go ask Gabe Brown.
in order to work in these factories.
Oh, yeah, the labor costs are much lower, but that's just the beginning of it. There's none of the... When you buy something American, you are buying the American tax burden and regulatory burden that comes with it, including the labor regulations. But that's only a small part of it. It's the single biggest part, but it's not the majority of it. The majority is the regulatory and tax burden. It actually costs less to make it thousands of miles away and ship it over here, because when you're buying it from China, you're buying the Chinese tax burden. When they talk about putting tariffs on Chinese products, what they're really saying is we need to also put the American tax burden on Chinese stuff so that everything costs you a fortune when you try to buy it. Just remove the burdens, deregulate the market, and things would cost less. the labor is offset by the cost of transportation. Yes, it's cheaper to hire someone over there, but once you factor in the cost of transportation over here, it pretty much evens out. It's the labor, it's the regulatory and tax burden that's the reason why. Chief Manufacturing Officer. Let's see what this moron has to say.
Thank you, Senator Sanders.
Of course.
Congressman, your response.
Well, yeah, I would just say, I didn't say we couldn't get there till 2040, Bernie. You don't have to yell. I mean, all I'm saying is we have to invent our way out of this thing. And if we're waiting for 2040 for a ban to come in on gasoline vehicles, we're screwed. So we better get busy now. And that's why I'm saying, get a chief manufacturing officer, align the environmental incentives with the financial incentives, and make sure that people can actually make money off of the new technologies that are moving forward. And then here's what I'll do as president, cut the worker in on the deal. Make sure these are union jobs, and I will double union membership to make sure that these new jobs pay what the old fossil fuel jobs pay.
Senator Sanders, your response.
Look, on this issue, my friends, there is no choice. We have got to be super aggressive if we love our children and if we want to leave them a planet that is healthy and is habitable. So I don't disagree with Tim. What that means is we got to A, take on the fossil fuel industry. B, it means we have to transform our energy system away from fossil fuel to energy efficiency.
The fossil fuel industry is heavily lobbying for renewables over nuclear, precisely because if you have a solar grid-based electric system, you have to burn fossil fuels when it's cloudy, when it's nighttime, when the solar system goes down, the solar arrays go down or whatever. So it's actually the entire solar system going down.
Yeah, I was going to say, you don't hear about the solar system going down.
When the solar system goes down, now what, schmuck? Now tell me about tilapia, Shane. It's a lie when they talk about, we're going to take on the fossil. BP and Dutch Shell, Royal Shell, whatever it's called, they would love nothing more than for you to never hear about nuclear and instead to hear about freaking wind farms which cause cancer and solar panels.
And no matter what everybody, like, they're arguing about the way to do this, but no matter what, all of them are talking about an increase in government, which everything that's had an increase in government, nothing has run more efficiently.
Right.
The Department of Education, it has done nothing but hurt our education system. The Drug Enforcement Agency has done nothing but increase the amount of drugs that are here. Well, I mean, I guess the CIA increased the amount of drugs that are here, but there has never been a government program that has been run so efficiently that it actually helped anything ever.
I mean, I realize we're watching the Democratic debate, but I mean, yeah, no, government programs don't make it better. But we're also talking to we're listening to people that have been thinking government programs make things better from the beginning, as opposed to the Republicans who have warmed up over time to the idea of government programs making things better. Sarah Anderegg says, why isn't Marianne getting any more time? I don't understand. Even in a non-biased way, she's the only one making good points in a proper manner and speaks way better than everyone else. That's like, listen.
That's accurate.
I mean, they're not letting her talk at all. Like, she hasn't talked since they came back from the break a long time ago.
Right. Yeah, they came back from the break about 30 minutes ago, and she has
I mean, they're not even being sly about it, where they give her a few seconds. They give her 20 seconds, and then, 20 minutes goes by, and then they give her 20 seconds, and they cut her off while she's talking. It's incredible to me. What she needs to do is pick a fight with an individual person, because then they have to go back and forth. But I don't think she'll do that, because that kind of goes against her whole ethos of bashing people. Like, her whole ethos of, being, healing everything. Right? So, it's hard for her to be like, Bernie's wrong about XYZ, but that's, the best thing she could do right now is to, force them to give her time by like picking a fight, but I don't think she's going to do it.
Sarah asks, is there a reason? And yeah, there is a reason. I think there is a reason. I think that I honestly believe the DNC is afraid of her.
It is all theoretical.
I do think the DNC is afraid of her because she is going to speak to a massive demographic of people who will vote for her and who will rabidly follow her. And if she starts gaining enough steam, she will unseat whoever their chosen candidate is. So I honestly believe that because of that, she is kind of being muted. She is being pushed off to the side.
Yeah. There is one candidate on that stage tonight who wants to end all the wars and dismantle the military-industrial complex. There's one. The rest of them want more trans women of color operating the bombers so they can go, you go girl, like, you go girl, you go murder those brown people. Yes, bitch. Yes, queen. Sorry, I didn't want to do that. That's their word. But Mary, it's their word, right? Like, it's yes, queen. But Marianne's the only one that like actually wants to dismantle that. So that's why we're not hearing from her. Because war. Oh, you want to talk about something that the media loves? War. Those green screens with the bombs drop. They love that crap because everyone watches CNN and Fox and MSNBC when there's a war going on, when a hot war is going on. CNN would love nothing more than for us to go to war with Iran. Do you know what their ratings would be like if we went to war with Iran?
They would. I mean, since CNN falls below HGTV, they might jump ahead of HGTV.
They'd be reaching logo numbers. Is logo still a thing?
I don't know, but they'd be hitting Women's Entertainment Network numbers.
They'd be hitting Cartoon Network numbers. Maybe.
Unless Rick and Morty's on, in which case, no, they're not.
No, and Rick and Morty's coming back this year. Later on this year. Yeah. Oh, here we go.
The iceberg. I was recently in Denmark, South Carolina, where there is a lot of talk about it being the next Flint. We have an administration that has gutted the Clean Water Act. We have communities, particularly communities of color and disadvantaged communities all over this country who are suffering from environmental injustice. I assure you, I lived in Grosse Pointe. What happened in Flint would not have happened in Grosse Pointe. This is part of the dark underbelly of American society. The racism, the bigotry, and the entire conversation that we're having here tonight, if you think any of this wonkiness is going to deal with this dark psychic force of the collectivized hatred that this president is bringing up in this country, then I'm afraid that the Democrats are going to see some very dark days. We need to say it like it is. It's bigger than Flint. It's all over this country. It's particularly people of color. It's particularly people who do not have the money to fight back. And if the Democrats don't start saying it, then why would those people feel that they're there for us? And if those people don't feel it, they won't vote for us, and Donald Trump will win.
Thank you very much, Ms. Williams.
She felt so good during that one.
Race in America.
She was.
Congressman O'Rourke, President Trump is pursuing a re-election strategy.
Was that the biggest applause of the night?
I don't know. We've had it on mute a lot. Dark psychic force of collectivized hatred. She she's speaking her language. She's speaking to the people about things that they actually care about.
She's speaking to me.
Send her back.
Dark psychic forces.
Congress, because she's a woman of color, because she's a Muslim.
This guy, shut the hell up. America. Dark psychic forces
of collectivized
hatred are coming for you.
That's right.
What are you going to do? You got to vote. You got to vote for Marianne.
You got to vote Marianne.
It's Marianne on this side. You got Marianne, and you've got the dark psychic forces of collectivized hatred. Those are your choices. And Kim Ruff. You have Kim Ruff, which is the best of those options. But between those two options, what are you going to pick? I think they give her like 30 seconds. She knocks it out of the park every time, and they go back. Let's talk to John Hickenlooper about, being a 2011 Democrat instead of a 2019 Democrat.
This would be the best candidate to heal the racial divide.
In Colorado, when I was mayor, we got to universal pre-K for every kid in the urban city.
If they don't ask Marianne this question, then screw them, because you want to hear an applause. Have her start talking to Democrats about race.
Scholarship fund for every kid. You got to deliver a vision like that for the whole country.
Thank you, Governor. Senator Warren,
That didn't answer
coming
the
to you
question.
now. Last week, the FBI Director Christopher Wray said that the majority of domestic terrorism cases this year have been motivated by white supremacy. In fact, the alleged shooter in this weekend's attack in Gilroy, California, referenced a well-known white supremacist book on social media. How are you going to combat the rise of white supremacy?
We need to call out white supremacy for what it is, domestic terrorism, and it poses a threat to the United States.
I wonder if you call out Antifa.
We live in a country now where the president is
What was that?
I wonder if she would call out Antifa.
No.
criminal justice racism, healthcare racism. The way we do better is to fight back and show something better. So I have a plan, for example, on education that says we have to build a better education system for all our kids, but we've got to acknowledge what's happened on race. So my plan has universal tuition-free college for all of our kids, but also increases...
This is going to stop people from being racists.
By putting $50 billion into historic...
Even though white supremacy is actually higher among college graduates than among non-college people that didn't go to college.
Kids with student loan debt, and helps close the black-white wealth gap in America.
Thank you, Senator, very much.
White people are far more likely to have student loan debt than black people.
Home city of South Bend, from diversity in the police force to housing policy. Given your record, how can you convince African Americans that you should be the Democratic nominee?
As an urban mayor serving a diverse community, the racial divide lives within me. I'm not saying that I became mayor and racism or crime or poverty ended on my watch.
Racial divide
In our
lives
city,
within
we
him?
have come together repeatedly to tackle challenges like the fact that far too many people were not getting the help they needed in their housing, and so we directed it to a historically underinvested African-American neighborhood. Right now, in the wake of a police-involved shooting, our community is moving from hurting to healing by making sure that the community can participate in things like revising the use of force policy and making sure there are community voices on the Board of Safety that handles police matters. I've proposed a Douglas plan to tackle this issue nationally because mayors have hit the limits of what you can do unless there is national action. Systemic racism has touched every part of American life, from housing to health to home ownership. If you walk into an emergency room and you are black, your reports of pain will be taken less seriously. If you apply for a job and you are black, you are less likely to be called just because of the name on the resume. It's why I've proposed that we do everything from investing in historically redlined neighborhoods to build black wealth in home ownership.
Thank you, Mayor.
To supporting entrepreneurship for black
Thank you
Americans.
very much. Senator Klobuchar, what do you say to those Trump voters who prioritize the economy over the president's bigotry?
Well, first of all, there are people that voted for Donald Trump before that aren't racist. They just wanted a better shake in the economy. And so I would appeal to them. But I don't think anyone can justify what this president is doing. Little kids literally woke up this weekend, turned on the TV, and saw their president calling their city, the town of Baltimore, nothing more than a home for rats. And I can tell you, as your president, that will stop.
So did Bernie Sanders. That's such... What a circus, Matt, that Trump basically rephrased what Bernie Sanders said and what anyone who has ever been to Baltimore
knows.
Like, Baltimore literally has a rat problem. Like, they are a rat-infested city.
They are definitely a rat-infested city.
Like, it's a major problem.
It is a major, and like anybody who's been to Baltimore knows it's not a clean town. It's like Philly without the class.
I'm from Baltimore. We lived in the suburbs. We fled as soon as we could. This whole Baltimore thing is a bunch of... I have family that live in Baltimore and the surrounding suburbs. They will be the first ones to tell you that both Bernie and Donald Trump were right when it came to describing Baltimore as being like a third world city and being rat infested.
Even Oh Kiss My Bass or Kiss My Bass, super fan, Oh Kiss My Bass, says, I'm from Baltimore and I can confirm that Baltimore is a rat infested crap hole.
I bet Spike's from Pikesville. Nope, I'm not. Believe it or not. That's funny though. I'm from oh, that is funny. No, I'm I was actually born in Baltimore, and then we lived in Randallstown and then in Cockeysville, and then we fled to Myrtle Beach like hard, and I'm really glad because I've been back since. And yeah, even Pikesville, man, woo! I went to a Applebee's in Pikesville, and we left because I was not ready for Ghetto Bees. I was not ready for that.
The Club B.
Oh, we're missing Marianne.
Does come from a great injustice that has never been dealt with. That great injustice has had to do with the fact that there was 250 years of slavery followed by another 100 years of domestic terrorism. What makes me qualified to say 200 to 500 billion dollars? I'll tell you what makes me qualified. If you did the math of the 40 acres and a mule, given that there was 4 to 5 million slaves at the end of the Civil War, there were 4 to 5, and they were all promised 40 acres and a mule for every family of 4. If you did the math today, it would be trillions of dollars. And I believe that anything less than $100 billion is an insult. And I believe that 200 to 500 billion is politically feasible today because so many Americans realize there is an injustice that continues to form a toxicity underneath the surface, an emotional turbulence that only reparations.
Thank you very much. Senator Sanders, you don't think cash payments are the best way to address this issue, but according to a new Gallup poll, 73% of African Americans are in favor of cash payments to Black Americans who are descendants of slaves.
Well,
How do you respond to them?
Well, I respond to that by saying that I am supportive of Jim Clyburn's legislation, which is called 10-20-30. And what that understands is that as a result of slavery and segregation and the institutional racism we see now in healthcare, in education, in financial services, we are going to have to focus big time on rebuilding distressed communities in America, including African American communities. In terms of education, I also have a plan. It's called the Thurgood Marshall Plan, and it would focus on ending the growth of segregated schools in America. It would triple funding for Title I schools. It would make sure that teachers in this country earned at least $60,000 a year.
Senator Sanders, thank you very much. The debate continues right after this short break.
60 grand.
60 grand for every teacher in America. Now, I don't have kids. So, yeah, you like that?
I love that. The dark psychic forces. We must stop them.
Vote against the dark psychic forces. Go like us on Instagram, everybody. Just see the meme I just made and put up.
We have two options. Like our Instagram page, the dark psychic forces of collectivized hatred. Sorry, go ahead.
No, you're fine. Totally forgot what I was going to say.
60 grand for teachers.
60. Okay, so yeah, I don't have kids, but most salaries of teachers are done at the local level. It's coming from the property taxes. It's coming from your sales taxes. If he's saying that he wants to do 60 grand for every teacher in America, that means that there's going to become a federal property tax in order to pay for it.
Oh yeah. If you, or you're just dumping that on the school districts, this law that they have to pay that much. And now all your school districts are scrambling with what's it called, bonds and tax increases to pay for this unfunded federal mandate on it's one or the other. I mean, you're paying one way or the other. $60,000. Listen, this is when I would pull up the Norm Macdonald thoughts video on teachers, and we could all just enjoy that. That would sum up my feeling about that whole thing.
It's not that easy when you're the one getting asked the questions, is it?
Yeah. I will, after this is over, look up Norm Macdonald teacher heckler or something like that.
I mean, teachers, I think I've said this before on the show. People are like, oh, teachers, they're the real heroes. They're the ones that deserve more money. Yeah, well, if the education system hasn't continued to get better, why is it? Why is it that they deserve more money? Are they going to teach better?
Why?
And yeah, I know the argument of, oh, well, then they can afford to buy the supplies that they need for their classrooms and stuff like that. But it's not about it. We were teaching a long time ago without the supplies that you allegedly need today. And if you give them more money, it doesn't mean they're going to teach better.
Yeah.
You're not actually rewarding people for doing their jobs well at this point. You're just saying, hey, if you do this, you're going to get $60,000.
You're the real hero. Listen, so, I mean, first of all, there are charts that show that the number of teachers in the country has like flattened, and all the costs is in all the administrators they've had. So, I mean, if you really want to have teachers be treated better and there be more teachers who get paid more, you get the government out of it, because all they keep doing is just adding administrators at every level to supposedly help kids. It's not helping kids. The literacy rate has been stuck around 86% for almost ever. It's actually lower than it was 200 years ago. And the problem is not that teachers aren't being paid enough. The problem is that the government is in charge of schooling. And if you haven't sensed a common theme on this show, it's that government doesn't make things better. It makes things worse.
Every time.
Tilapia is fish made by government. I don't know if that's true, but
that actually could be true.
That's probably true. I'm going to look that up right now because I hope that's true. Man, I hope that's true.
It'd be funny as crap if it was.
Tilapia history.
I've actually heard that before, though, so it really wouldn't surprise me. It sounds like an Alex Jones conspiracy theory, but it would not surprise me all that much if it was that tilapia was made by the government for cheap fish.
Tilapia.
So right now, like literally, I know that we might be considered a little biased for Marianne, but I really think that every answer, like the 5 answers she's been allowed to give, have been the best answers of this debate.
The dark psychic forces. Listen, part of the debate is being quotable, right? Or are they already back? Yeah. Part of the debate is being, I don't really give a crap about what he has to say anyway, but part of the debate is quotable quotes, things that people will remember. She's got a lot of stuff people remember. Her one thing is she won't. And if anyone is sick of the back and forth and they just want someone who rises above the fray, she's been doing that all night. No one attacks her because they don't want to give her any time. So I don't know. I mean, I think she's just, I think she comes out of this better than she was coming in.
And that's how she was in the first debate. I think that there's a good chance that she does this in this debate as well, because the last debate, yeah, she said some crazy stuff, off the wall stuff that nobody was really prepared for in a presidential debate. But she became really Googleable. Everybody was looking her up. Everybody wanted to know who she was.
Now there's a ton of info about her, yeah.
Yeah, now she's taking it a little bit more seriously. Her answers are more well thought out. She hasn't mentioned New Zealand once, and she seems to be much more professional in her demeanor as somebody running for president. So I think that she's going to build a strong base.
She's got Republicans giving her money just because they want to see her there. Like, I mean, I think Yang completely flatlined. I think you can only say I'm going to give you $1,000 a month so many times before people go, oh, what else? Oh, by the way, she supports Yang's $1,000 a month. So there goes that. So okay, great. Now what? And did you hear Andrew Yang talk about the dark psychic forces of collectivized hatred? No. He said $1,000 a month. I'm going to give you $1,000 a month. And she said, I'm going to give you $1,000 a month, and I'm going to fight against the dark psychic forces of collectivized hatred.
We can't isolate ourselves from the world. We have to engage with fair, rules-based
Thank you,
trade.
Congressman Delaney. Senator Warren, please respond.
For decades, we have had a trade policy that has been written by giant multinational corporations to help giant multinational corporations. They have no loyalty to America. They have no patriotism. If they can...
This is the Democrats agree with Donald Trump part of the debate.
If they can continue a polluting plant by moving it to Vietnam, they'll do it in a heartbeat. I have put out a new comprehensive plan that says we're not going to do it that way. We're going to negotiate our deals with unions at the table, with small businesses at the table, with small farmers at the table, with environmentalists at the table, with human rights activists at the table. And then we're going to use the fact that everybody in the world wants to get to America's markets. They want to sell to you.
Congressman Delaney. Sorry.
Everyone wants to get to America's markets. No.
She doesn't answer questions.
Senator, thank you. Please abide by the rules. Congressman Delaney, it's your turn. Thank you,
Okay, so who was it that asked earlier the difference between... Was that Chris Reynolds who asked the difference between Bernie and Liz Warren?
Yeah.
Okay, the difference is that Bernie Sanders answers the question. He does it in one of these ways, but she just literally would not say if she would continue the tariffs. It's a very simple question. And you can make a flowery way of answering it, but she never actually addressed that at all. It sounded like she would, but...
It is so extreme that it'll isolate the American economy from the rest of the world.
Senator?
Senator
Warren.
Senator Warren. Notice what I think he said.
Senator Sanders, please let Senator Warren respond.
Oh, I'm sorry.
What the congressman is describing as extreme is having deals that are negotiated by American workers for American workers.
By the way, you notice, remember they said that if you interrupt people, we're going to deduct your time? Has that happened?
No.
Then the answer is, let's make
Has anyone even been given set time?
Make them pay their workers more. Let their
I think that was decided before the debate.
environmental standards before they
Oh.
come to us and say,
Because Marianne Williamson, guys, hasn't interrupted anyone, and she's gotten the least amount of time. So I'm not sure where this whole we're going to penalize you thing, when that part kicks in. Maybe it's during the commercial breaks.
The question was about tariffs, and they're a huge mistake. They constitute the largest tax increase on the American consumer, hitting the middle class and the working poor.
Leave it to Beto to say it.
And farmers
I agree
in
with
Iowa
Beto.
and across
I
the
agree
country
with Beto.
are
There's some
bearing
words.
The brunt of the consequences. When have we ever gone to war, including a trade war, without allies and friends and partners? As president, we will hold China accountable, but we will bring our allies and friends like the European Union to bear, and we'll also negotiate trade deals that favor farmers and American workers and protect human rights and the environment and labor, not just here in the United States, but in those
Thank you very much.
countries.
Senator Sanders, please respond to Congressman O'Rourke.
Yeah, okay. You're looking, I believe, at the only member of Congress who not only voted against these disastrous trade agreements, NAFTA, PNTR with China, which cost us over 4 million jobs, but also helped lead the effort against these agreements. Now,
I used to go on NAFTA to download lots of free music, but then I started using LimeWire.
You're mistaken.
If they can
save 5 cents by going to China, Mexico, or Vietnam, or any place else, that's exactly what they would do. As president, let me tell you what I will do. These guys line up at the federal trough. They want military contracts. They want all kinds of contracts. Well, under my administration, you ain't going to get those contracts if you throw American workers out on the street.
Thank you very much. Governor Hickenlooper, your response.
So I think, again, I think Congressman Delaney has got a point here, and there is a way of looking at trade that is therapeutic. The bottom line is, you talk to any economist, there is not a single example in history where a trade war had a winner. Trade wars are for losers. And the bottom line is we've got to recognize, let's negotiate a better trade deal, but you're not going to win against China in a trade war when they've got 25% of our total debt. And step back and look at, here's Trump gives that giant tax cut, and at the same time, so we're paying in tariffs about $800 to $1,200 per household, and then we give this incredible tax cut to the rich. Essentially, what's happening is now he's transferred that tax obligation onto the middle class.
He's right.
What's outrageous. But
He's actually right.
are not the solution.
Governor,
He's right. He's right. Now, all taxes are paid by the consumer, so it's just a bit of sleight of hand. But he's absolutely right. A tariff is a massive regressive tax on consumers. All taxes are massive regressive taxes on consumers, but tariffs are an especially egregious tax on people that buy stuff at Walmart and Dollar General.
That's what trade deals have become. They have become a way for
Did you want to add anything to that?
to change the regulatory
Hickenlooper covered it.
Yeah, he really did. And Beto kind of did too, and then he went off on a thing.
And to leave the American people behind. We have to have the courage to fight back against that
Senator,
corruption.
thank you. Governor Bullock, your response?
You know, Farmer in Rippey said to me, every time that Trump tweets, we lose hundreds of thousands of dollars. If Montana had to eat all the wheat that we produce, every Montanan would have to eat 40 loaves of bread a day. But by the same token, what we have is, I actually agree with Senator Warren on this in part. Corporations can move capital easy. Workers can't move. So going forward, we need to make sure that our trade deals actually are protecting, thinking about the workers. They can't be the stepchild, but the way to do it with this blunt instrument of tariffs that the president's doing, that's not how we get a fair deal for farmers anywhere or the manufacturers here in Detroit.
Governor, thank you very much. Mayor, stand by, please. Stand by, please. Please abide by the rules. Mayor Buttigieg, on Thursday of this week, a GM plant in Michigan will stop production, the latest auto plant to cease operations in the industrial Midwest. This comes as part of the company's modernization plans, which will eventually result in 6,000 hourly workers losing their jobs or being reassigned to other plants.
This is the CNN using Trump's demagoguing talking points.
This happened in my community. 20 years
Segment of the debate.
Born, and when I was growing up, we were still picking up the pieces. Empty factories, empty houses, poverty. I know exactly what happens to a community when these closures take place, and there will be more. It's why we actually need to put the interests of workers first.
Meet Mayor Peavy. So, what happens when these closings happen? One, a lot of people go out of work, and then you have a lot of people who are looking for different ways to make money, and a lot of people, usually the underprivileged and minority communities, end up turning to race, and that is when his police department shoot them, and then he looks, and then he makes excuses for those officers and refuses to take a stand on it. If you don't believe this, obviously, if you're watching the show, you probably believe this to some level.
Right.
But he recently was accosted by a BLM group talking to him about this exact thing.
Yep.
So he's saying, I'm here trying to pick up the pieces, blah, blah, blah. You need to start by making sure that your police departments aren't targeting Black or other minorities, youth who are out there in the middle of the streets unarmed.
Yep. The greatest jobs program you could ever have in our time is to end the drug war. Because right now you have people who, we have the largest prison population, both in raw numbers and as a percentage of our population, in human history. These are people, and like something like 60% of them, 70% of them are there for engaging in voluntary commerce. And many of them that are there for something else originally went in for engaging in voluntary commerce of drugs or sex, and then got hardened because they're in a rape cage and trying to survive, and then they come out and they have PTSD from the dark psychic forces of collectivized hatred that led to the drug war in the first place. And as a result of that, they're now a hardened criminal going out into a softer world, and they end up harming people, and now they're back in prison. So the ending the drug war, again, if these people want to talk about jobs, talk about ending the drug war, talk about getting rid of the regulations that we're going to hold China accountable for what? For being more affordable? Do you know how you hold them accountable for being more affordable? By making us more affordable. That would hold them accountable for their sin of providing products cheaper than we do, because the freaking communist Chinese have fewer regulations than we do. Dark psychic forces.
Dark psychic forces.
I love it. I love dark psychic forces. What is this?
Provide universal child care for every baby in this country age 0
Like
to
literally
5.
you can take 5 seconds of her talking and it is just terrible.
Right.
Watch.
So universal child care. That means Spike has no children. I have no children. There are multiple people who are watching this show that I hope have no children. I'm just kidding. I hope that you all procreate and do whatever.
Yeah, no, I don't. Anyway, go ahead.
Right. But that means that because Elizabeth Warren deems it so, Spike and myself will be part of the people paying for this universal child care.
Yeah.
It's not on us. We have done everything. Well, I have done. I don't know about Spike. I have done everything in my power not to have children up to this point without, surgery. I have done everything I can to not have children because I was trying to be financially responsible, which I don't get to say that about a lot of things in my life. But I knew that
when it comes to sex,
that one, I was like, nope, got to be financially responsible. Don't want to have kids.
She's going to cancel Spike's student debt, though. I hope that's a joke. I saw the college scam as a teenager. I saw that a mile away.
And that's the other thing. Like, I have student debt. I've got a good amount of student debt. So does Chris Reynolds, attorney at law. And as
it's a joke. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, it's a joke. I signed up for that debt. I understand that it's mine, and I am slowly paying it off.
I wouldn't be against some level of forgiveness if it was done in concert with removing the government from higher and lower education. If as a part of that process, you had as part of so instead of the funding for continuing these terrible schools that are incredibly expensive, that some of that money would go towards relieving student debt for the lowest income people. Forgiving student loan debt across the board means mostly white and mostly middle and upper middle class people get a huge wash, a huge boon to their bottom line on the backs of mostly blue collar and minority households. Like, it's such a huge white hipster wealth transfer. I can't even imagine that. I mean, it's reparations for millennials. Like, I was like,
right. And yeah, it's reparations for, that's true.
Reparations for white millennials.
I'm not 100% sure on the statistic anymore, but I know that when I was going through school, they were telling me that 23% of all Americans have a college degree. We have, I don't know the number. I think it's like something like $52 billion in student debt loans that are out. That means that 77% of America are going to be picking up that debt for that 23%. That is not the debt of these 77%. That is the debt of those 23%, and they are all responsible for that debt individually.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Oh, Kiss My Bass says Chinese also have nets around their manufacturing plants so people can't kill themselves by jumping off of them. Efficiency. Efficiency.
It's kind of like a nail gun would have made the crucifixion much more efficient.
It's sure. That's, I guess, sure.
Just one shot.
Okay. It is. Yeah, it was just one. Yeah. Good. So
Marianne's on.
Oh God! Here, everyone, shut up. Meaning me and Matt.
Where 83 cents of every dollar goes to the very, very richest among us, that does not stimulate the economy. If we get rid of this college debt, think of all the young people who will have the discretionary spending. They'll be able to start their business. The best thing you could do to stimulate the U.S. economy is to get rid of this debt. This is not just about a plan to do it, it's about a philosophy of governing. And I've heard some people here tonight, I almost wonder why you're Democrats. You seem to think there's something wrong about, using the
Marianne.
instruments of government
Uh-oh.
to help people. That is what government should do. All policies should help people thrive. That is how we will have peace, and that is how we will have prosperity.
Thank you, Ms. Williamson. Congressman O'Rourke, you don't support free four-year college. Your response to Ms. Williamson?
I support free two-year college. Earn that associate's degree, realize your full potential, debt-free four-year college. But unlike some of the other candidates on the stage, that's not just for tuition. That is room and books and board, the full cost of being able to better yourself so that you can better this country. And then for that school teacher who in many places like Texas is working a second or a third job, full forgiveness for her outstanding student loan debt, forgiveness for that person willing to work at the VA and serve our former service members. And we do not do that at the expense of unions. We elevate them as well and make it easier to join an apprenticeship, to learn a skill or a trade that you can command for the rest of your life.
Thank you. Thank you, Congressman. Senator Klobuchar, your response.
I want to make it easier for kids to go to college, and I think we do it by focusing our resources
Because God
on
knows
the people that need it.
Colleges, there aren't enough people in colleges, guys. That's why you can't get a good job. And that's why, by the way, that's why jobs are requiring freaking associate's degrees to work at Starbucks, is because there aren't enough people going to college.
Right. Chris Reynolds, Jewish Spike, was very careful about that nail gun comment. Right.
Efficiency.
So back in the 70s and 80s, if you had a high school degree, you could get almost any job you wanted, and they gave you on-the-job training. Then they started pushing this lie that you needed to go to college in order to get a good enough job.
Right.
So that meant that you needed your associate's degree to get an entry-level job.
Right.
Nowadays, you need a bachelor's degree to get an entry-level job. And you see many people who are 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, going back to school, trying to get their master's degree because they have no way of moving up.
Right. Yeah. Your 12-year degree is worthless. Or diploma.
Completely worthless.
Yep.
In all honesty, Spike, I wish I had done what Spike had done, because he started a business when he was in high school. He sold it and he retired. He didn't go to college.
To be fair, I was really, really high, and I didn't want to have to go anywhere. So I started a home-based business, and that worked. Could have not worked.
It could have not worked.
It could have gone the other way.
Right.
Could have gone sideways a few different times, but
it could have gone the way of all of my home-based businesses.
It could have gone the way of most home-based businesses, but I there's a little bit of luck there. But yes, we don't talk. What do you want to bet? None of these people mention the word entrepreneur, which is the entire baseline for the U.S. economy is 60% small business. but we never hear about that. Or we'll hear a sop to small business, but they're not talking about the roots of what creates small business, which is entrepreneurs that don't have to deal with massively high barriers to entry, like occupational licensing, like all these different taxes, like all these different regulations, like zoning laws that make you not allowed to do business in your own home. All of these other things, all of these other things that make it nearly impossible for small startups to get started, and which the larger companies love these regulations because they choke out potential competition from the bottom. I'm interested to hear what they have to say about foreign policy.
For the second time in less than a week. Congressman, you said that you would not meet with North Korean dictator Kim Jong-un unless you were at least close to a deal. Now, Senator Klobuchar says that she would, quote, always be willing to meet with leaders to discuss policies. Is that view wrong?
Yeah, I think so. I love Amy Klobuchar, but I think she's wrong on this one. I don't think presidents of the United States meet with dictators. We saw what just happened with President Trump. He goes to the demilitarized zone with the leader of North Korea, gives him a huge photo op, gives him global credibility because the most powerful person in the world is sitting there meeting with them, and weeks later he's lobbing more missiles. That doesn't make any sense. We've got to demilitarize our foreign policy. We've got to make sure that we are engaging these countries all the time. This is
you just said not to.
I've been in Congress 17 years. I sit on the Defense Appropriations Committee. I sat on the Armed Services Committee. This is long, tedious work, much of it done outside of the eye of the TV camera. And as president, you've got to monitor that and be very disciplined every day. Don't go give a dictator a huge win. Sit down and do your job. And the same thing with what's happening in Central America.
Your job is to meet with dictators.
State Department budget.
Don't meet with dictators.
Guatemala, El Salvador, where the migrants are coming from. Go fix the problem at its source and use diplomacy to do it.
Senator Klobuchar, your response?
Stop
I think we agree.
destabilizing their countries, and those were all dictatorships you just described that you don't want to meet
What I
with.
don't like is how this president has handled it. You've heard of the Truman Doctrine, the Monroe Doctrine. He's done the go it alone doctrine with the rest of the world. He's taken us out of the climate change agreement, out of the Iran nuclear agreement, out of the Russian nuclear agreement, and I don't agree with that. And when he was just with Vladimir Putin at the G20, when he was asked about invading our democracy, he made a joke. Hundreds of thousands of Americans have lost their lives on the battlefield to protect our democracy and our right to vote. Four little girls in Birmingham, Alabama, lost their life in a church at the height of the Civil Rights Amendment. So I do believe you meet with people, but you better have an agenda, and you better put our interests of our country first, not the Russians.
Thank you, Senator Klobuchar. Mayor Buttigieg, you served in Afghanistan, where just yesterday 2 U.S. service members were killed. There are currently about 14,000 U.S. service members in Afghanistan. You've said, quote, one thing everybody can agree on is that we're getting out of Afghanistan. Will you withdraw all U.S. service members by the end of your first year in office?
We will withdraw. We have to.
In your first year?
Yes. Look, around the world, we will do whatever it takes to keep America safe. But I thought I was one of the last troops leaving Afghanistan when I thought I was turning out the lights years ago. Every time I see news about somebody being killed in Afghanistan, I think about what it was like to hear an explosion over there and wonder whether it was somebody that I served with, somebody that I knew, a friend.
Show of hands.
Colleague. We're pretty close to
who
the day we will wake up to the news.
Believes Mayor Petey when he says that he's going to pull out of Afghanistan ever, much less in his first year.
Right, like not just even in the first year, like forget the first year. Let's say his first term. Ever. Because I'm pretty certain we have heard that since 2008.
Yeah, I'm thinking no.
Yeah, that's a big fat no. He's going to get multiple Pinocchios from the Washington Post on.
I don't believe him.
Whether you would withdraw all U.S. service members from Afghanistan during your first year in office as president. How do you respond, sir?
I would, in my first term in office, agree that there is nothing about perpetuating this war already in its 18th year that will make it any better. We've satisfied the reasons for our involvement in Afghanistan
So
in
then
the first
why-
place, and it's time to bring those service members back home from
So why
Afghanistan,
not in the first
but
year?
also from Iraq, also from Yemen and Somalia and Libya and Syria. There is no reason for us to be at war all over the world tonight. As president, I will end those wars, and we will not start new wars. We will not send more U.S. service members overseas to sacrifice their lives and to take the lives of others in our name. We can resolve
Thank you,
these
Congressman.
challenges peacefully
Thank
and
you,
diplomatically.
Congressman. Governor Hickenlooper, you disagree.
Yeah,
You
I
said
don't
that
believe
you're
him either.
open to keeping some service members in Afghanistan
Oh,
beyond your
God.
first term.
I look at it as a
Please respond.
humanitarian issue, and with all due respect, you're looking at the condition of women. If we completely pull our troops out of there, you're going to see a humanitarian disaster that will startle and frighten every man, woman, and child in this country.
Thank you.
And I don't think, I mean, we
I
have
think so.
troops in over 400 different locations around
so.
the world. Most of them are small.
I'm not
they're
sure.
peacekeeping. They're not greatly at risk. We're going to have to be in Afghanistan. Look at the progress that's happened in that country. We're going to turn our backs and walk
progress.
away from people that have risked their lives to help us and build a different future for Afghanistan and that part of the world.
Thank you, Governor. Senator Warren, you want to make it U.S. policy that the U.S. will never use a
The progress in Afghanistan, the countless hundreds of thousands of civilians, which, by the way, according to all third-party groups, the vast majority have been killed by U.S. and allied forces, not by the Taliban.
Safer. The United States is not going to use nuclear weapons preemptively, and we need to say so to the entire world. It reduces the likelihood that someone miscalculates, someone misunderstands. Our first responsibility is to keep ourselves safe. And what's happening right now with Donald Trump, as they keep expanding the different ways that we have nuclear weapons, the different ways that they could be used, puts us all at risk. You know, we talk about what's happening around the world. I have 3 older brothers who served in the military. I see that they would do anything. Our military is the best on earth, but we should not be asking our military to take on jobs that do not have a military solution. We need to use our diplomatic tools, our economic tools, and if we're going to send someone into war, we better have a plan for how we're going to get them out on the other end.
Thank you, Senator. Governor Bullock, your response to Senator Warren's proposal to the U.S. never use a nuclear weapon first?
I wouldn't want to take that off the table. I think America's strength, we have to be able to say that. Look, never, I hope, certainly in my term or anyone else, would we really even get close to pulling that trigger. But by the same token,
for what?
America's strength, and look, this president's made America versus America alone. Our allies no longer trust us. Our adversaries are with us. But going from a position of strength, we should be negotiating down so there aren't nuclear weapons. But drawing those lines in sand at this point, I wouldn't do.
Thank you,
Are
Governor.
we
Senator
still
Warren, your
doing
response?
calling nuclear? And I'm someone that, you know, says my mantra while eating ramen noodles. Nuclear? How do you say it, Matt?
Nuclear?
Yeah, because that's
I mean that he sounds like a like George W. there.
George
like,
W. Nuclear.
Nuclear. Gotta
Nuclear.
Got them nuclear weapons.
And his is worse because Bush has that accent, which makes it sound like, you know, it's just kind of a Southern way of saying it. He says it with sort of a Midwestern nuclear.
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 With the eyebrows. I get the eyebrows with Bush.
Nuclear. Nuclear. We have to be willing to show strength by preemptively killing people with nuclear weapons, which was Eric Swalwell's thing too. That was he's stealing an Eric Swalwell talking point.
When you actually have Korea, when you have others, I don't want to turn around and say, well, Detroit has to be gone before we would ever use that. When so many crazy folks are getting closer to having a nuclear weapon, I don't want them to think I could strike this country and I and we as the United States of America wouldn't do a thing. Part of the strength really is the ability
Governor
to
Bullock.
deter.
Governor, thank you very much. Moving on now.
Can I add
Moving
something
on
to
now,
that
please,
discussion,
Senator.
Doug?
Senator, please. Moving on now. As you know, to serve as President of the United States, all of you know this, you have to be at least 35 years old. So, Mayor Buttigieg, you just qualified. You're 37, the youngest candidate in this field. Standing next to you is the oldest candidate, Bernie Sanders, at age 77. Should voters take into consideration age when choosing a presidential candidate?
I don't care how old you are. I care about your vision. But I do think it matters that we have a new generation of leaders stepping up around the world. Leaders like I actually think it's good that the Prime Minister of New Zealand's gotten a lot of attention in Democratic debates. She's masterful. She is younger than I would be when I take office. This is the kind of trend America might be leading instead of following, but only if it's actually backed by the right vision. And we can have great presidents at any age. What I will say is we need the kind of vision that's going to win. We cannot have a vision that amounts to back to normal. Because the only reason we got this president is that normal didn't work. We have to be ready to take on this president. And by the way, something that hasn't been talked about as much tonight, take on his enablers in Congress. You know, when David Duke ran for Congress, ran for governor, the Republican Party 20 years ago ran away from him. Today, they are supporting naked racism in the White House, or at best silent about it. And if you are watching this at home, and you are a Republican member of Congress, consider the fact that when the sun sets on your career, and they are writing your story, of all the good and bad things you did in your life, the thing you will be remembered for is whether in this moment, with this president, you found the courage to stand up to him, or you continue to put party over country.
Thank you, Mayor. Senator Sanders, as a senior statesman of the group, please respond to Mayor Buttigieg.
Well, Pete is right. It's a question of vision. That's what it is, whether you're young, whether you're old, whether you're in between. And my vision, among other things, says that if we're going to fight for health care, we don't take money from the drug companies or the insurance companies. And I've asked all of the candidates who are running.
He is the original panderer.
Money from those entities who, in my view, are going to war against the American.
He did answer the question, but now he's on something complete.
He wasn't even close to answering that question.
Well, he said it doesn't matter. Blah 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 blah. Healthcare. But he did say it doesn't matter. Elizabeth Warren would have just said, "I think that healthcare is a right," and just completely ignored that another question was asked.
Their parents.
Thank you, Senator Sanders. The debate continues right after this. Please. Thank you. The debate continues.
Wow. They just shut her off.
Yep.
That is remarkable. They just shut her off. Like, they didn't let her talk for quite some time. Went through like 3 or 4 subjects without ever having her talk about it. And then she says, like, I'd like to say something. And they're like, no.
Yeah, they said, no, you're not getting to today. Hashtag free Marianne. That's right, Chris Reynolds.
CNN is helping empower the dark psychic forces of collectivized hatred.
So they're talking about age, and everybody always talks about the old white man and stuff like that. But so
right.
Donald Trump, yeah, he was 70 years old, almost 71 when he got elected. Barack Obama, George Bush, Bill Clinton, all under the age of 60 when they got elected.
Right.
Barack Obama and Bill Clinton under the age of 50 when they got elected. Like, I don't think Americans care so much about age. And Mayor Petey is actually kind of right. They care about the vision that the person has. If the person can sell whatever crap they are spinning, the people are going to vote for it.
And crap, how old they are.
And CNN might be the dark psychic forces. But like Bernie Sanders continually pushing healthcare is the right. Healthcare is right. Healthcare is right. Healthcare is right. And just saying that over and over again is not going to get them elected. He needs more. You need more substance than healthcare is right.
Not in this field. Yeah. No.
Yeah, it's not going to do it. It's right now. Bernie Sanders is having one of the worst showings I've ever seen him have in a debate. It is awful.
They took his shtick.
Yeah, agreed. Everybody on that stage saw that Bernie Sanders did well in 2016, and they all stole it. They were plagiarizing the crap out of the guy.
They've all taken his shtick. I'm going to give you free everything because it's not fair that you don't have everything like the people that did all the things. And everyone's like, yeah, me too.
Right.
I also am going to give you everything.
I'm going to give you everything you want. I'm going to give
Yeah,
you
but I'm really gonna give you everything because I told you it's not fair and you got to get it. That's what I'm going to do.
Started out with free healthcare.
Yep.
Then it went to free college.
Yep.
Then it went to free child care.
Yep.
Essentially, they are working on just making sure you don't pay for anything for the rest of your life. But in doing so, all they are doing is, one, they're creating a job field that will make it nearly impossible for anybody to get a job without a post-high school degree of any kind.
Yeah.
Unless you are an entrepreneur and you start your own business and you turn that into a success. But in order to make sure that that's going to in order to do that, you're going to have to get through so much red tape because there's going to be so many new zoning laws. There's going to be so many new regulations on businesses. There's going to be so much you're going to have to go through. And then there's probably going to be laws on who you are allowed to hire and who you can have come work for you. And they have to be somebody that went through the government program.
Yep.
They're going to make it so difficult for small business owners and entrepreneurs to succeed that it will only make sense to go through the government, and everybody will then be reliant upon the government education.
At a time when global economies are expanding at massive rates, especially in the Far East, China is exploding economically. India is exploding economically. Brazil has started again to explode economically. You are not just competing with that guy over there or that lady over there. You are competing with the entire world. And if you aren't even entering the workforce until sometime in your mid to late 20s to do entry-level work, you are utterly, utterly screwed. I don't care about your student debt or whatever. You're not going to even be able to do a basic job without all this fake education.
I can go on Fiverr right now and get somebody from India, Pakistan, whatever,
Russia, yeah,
whatever, to do decently quality stuff. Oh, I think they're doing the closings.
Oh, they're doing the closing stuff.
Let's bring that up.
To actually go from delivering newspapers to the governor's house as a kid to now raising our 3 kids in it. We got to recognize for far too many people in America that shot no longer exists. And for far too many in this country, it never has.
He's a weird
I'm
accent.
running for president to beat Donald Trump, win back the places we lost, and make sure that Americans know that where Washington has left them behind in their economy and their political system, I'll be there. This isn't a choice just between center and left, or we don't have to choose between what we don't want and what we can't afford. Folks want a different way. They want to believe the economy and our democracy can work for us. That's why I'm running for president.
Thank you. Ms. Williamson?
Yes, our problem is not just that we need to defeat Donald Trump. We need a plan to solve institutionalized hatred, collectivized hatred, and white nationalism. And in order to do that, we need more than political insider game and wonkiness and intellectual argument. Those things will not defeat Donald Trump. We need some radical truth-telling, not just to talk about healthcare, but talk about why are we so sick all the time. We need to have a serious conversation about race and what is truly owed. Even on the subject of foreign policy, it's all about symptoms and not about cause. We need to talk about the fact that the United States has sacrificed our moral leadership, the fact that countries see us, not only domestically, but internationally, with policies that simply support our corporate overlords, the fact that our national defense agenda is driven more by short-term profits for defense contractors than by genuine peace building. There's some corruption that is so deep, ladies and gentlemen. And until the Democratic Party is ready to speak to the deeper corruption, knowing that we ourselves sometimes, because of our own corporate donations, have participated, then I'm afraid those who vote for Trump will continue to vote for Trump, and those who might not like Donald Trump will continue to stay home. I want a politics that goes much deeper. I want a politics that speaks to the heart, Because the only way to fight, you keep talking about how we're going to fight Donald Trump. You can't fight dog whistles. You have to override them. And the only way you can override them is with new voices, voices of energy that only come from the fact that America has been willing to live up to our own mistakes, atone for our own mistakes, make amends for our own mistakes, love each other, love our democracy, love future generations, something emotional and psychological that will not be emerging from anything on this stage. It will emerge from something I'm the one who's qualified to bring forth.
Congressman Delaney.
Thank you, Jake. John F. Kennedy famously said, we should not seek the Republican answer, we should not seek the Democratic answer, we should seek the right answer. He was right when he said it, and he's right today as well. Donald Trump is the symptom of a disease. And the disease is divisiveness.
You
And I'm the only
stole.
one on the stage talking about curing that
Thief.
disease, which with big ideas.
She
like
just
national
talked about
service,
curing disease.
by focusing on actually
Thief.
solving problems. If we work
Really liked her
together,
last
we can
performance.
fix healthcare and build infrastructure. We can invest in not just technology, but people and entrepreneurs, whether they be in Storm Lake, Iowa, or Detroit, Michigan, or Baltimore, Maryland. We can fight climate change and reimagine our education system. But we have to do it with real solutions, not impossible promises. Isn't it time we had a president who was a leader in both the private sector and in government to lead us into the future? I promise, as president, I will restore vision, unity, and leadership
said that
and
about a guy
decency
who-
to this country. And that's why I'm running for president.
That's
Thank
the
you.
president.
Congressman Ryan.
What's that?
He said we need somebody who's a leader in the private sector and the government. He just said that about while insulting Donald Trump.
Donald Trump. That was kind of a bad hot take there about. That was actually terrible. We need someone who's done great in both sectors. Oh. Well, don't we have that? Like, thought we had that.
But new and better. That's how we win the future.
This guy steers
It's
the shit
new
out of me.
And better. A new and better economy, a new and better education system, a new and better
This guy's
healthcare
like
system that focuses
everything that's terrible about the other people, plus he's a neocon.
on the trauma of our kids. There's not going to be a savior.
He just stole trauma of our kids. Everyone is stealing Marianne's stuff.
It's going to be you and me.
How are you going to heal the trauma of our
be
kids
us.
while bombing every kid
That's
on
how
Earth?
we fix this country. You and I coming together to do big things, to imagine the new country that we want by coming together. Not left or right, new and better.
Governor Hickenlooper.
Thank you. And what a night. I've loved it. I'd like to ask every American to imagine that you are facing life-threatening surgery tomorrow. Would you choose a doctor who had a track record of proven success, who'd actually done the work, or someone who had just talked about it?
What a weird...
That's the question we're facing in this primary. I've actually got a track record as a small business owner, as a mayor, and as a governor. We expanded healthcare in Colorado, got near universal coverage. We fought climate change directly, right? We beat the NRA. And for the last 3 years...
You wore that toupee
We can ramp all that out.
on international television.
But I'm also pragmatic.
That is a question of judgment.
Done the things that most of these other people are just talking about.
It's not just a question of aesthetics. It is a question of judgment. You looked at that hanging on the head thing that it's on when you aren't wearing it and said, yes,
Defeat Donald Trump and return this country to its glory.
I'm going to wear this.
Senator Klobuchar.
Well, thank you, Detroit. To win, we have to listen to people. And out there today is Casey Joe's mom. Casey Joe was a champion high school swimmer from a small town. She got sick, went to the emergency room, and got hooked on opioids. The last thing that she said to her mom was, "Mama, it's not my fault." And she died. A lot of Americans say the same
I'm going
thing
to take
every
things
day.
that never happened for
And that is
200,
what
Alex.
I will stand up for.
Can
And what I
someone
will stand
tag
up against
that
are
child
companies
didn't
like
say
those
that?
pharma companies that got her hooked on those opioids and didn't tell the doctors or the patients what was going to happen.
And her last
We need
words
someone
were,
that
"Mama."
has people's back. We also need
The last
someone
words
who
were
can-
Mama.
And I have one in these red districts.
We need
I
a
win in
confiscatory
I can win in
economic policy that
Wisconsin and Michigan
takes money from
Chris Reynolds
producers.
has a good point here. He says, odd tactic. Imagine something horrible when looking at and listening to me.
I've been the lead Democrat. And last,
They are doing that. I want you to look at me and picture the most horrific thing you could possibly imagine. Vote for me.
I will make you proud as your president.
I don't think that's true, Amy.
We are as divided and polarized as a country as we have ever been. And right now we have
We had a
president
civil-
who uses fear to try to drive us further apart.
We had a period of time where people were shooting each other by the hundreds of thousands in a hot war that lasted 3 years? Was it 3 years? Of just 3 years of people lining up in tightly packed lines and just firing at each other until one side lost enough people that they went, all right, you know what, fine, you win this one.
Right.
Okay? Like, we're the most divided we've ever been. Ever. Beto. Robert.
I can think of a time about 150 years ago. Roughly.
Yeah, we were a lot more divided back then. Or even during the 60s. Pretty divided back then. This is the most divided we've ever been. That is an appeal to people who didn't pay attention in history class. At all. Or even just watch TV.
They didn't watch Forrest Gump.
They didn't watch Forrest Gump.
Our country's in trouble. GDP is going up and life expectancy is going down. Think about what that means. And it's only getting tougher. By 2030, we will have passed the point of no return
fact
on
check
climate.
that.
There could be 130 million more guns on our streets. I'll be in my 40s then. If you have kids, think
continue
about
to go
how
up.
old they will be then. But here's the good news. It's not too late. We can tell our kids that before we ran out of time, just before we ran out of time, in 2020, we did what it took to deliver a climate that we didn't have to wonder if it could support us, to deliver a society where race has no bearing on your health or your wealth or your relationship with law enforcement, that we did what it took to deliver an economy where a rising tide actually does lift all boats. We can do this if and only if we are ready to walk away from what hasn't worked with bold action and win, not only defeat this president, but defeat his congressional allies with a defeat so big that it reunites the Republican Party with its conscience, as well as bringing Democrats to office.
Oh, they aren't going to like to hear that. So the U.S. life expectancy rate has dropped 2 years in a row by like 0.13 or something like that. It's still higher than it was like 4 years ago or 5 years ago. So this isn't like we're all going to die. I mean, we are all going to die, but not in any like more rapidly than it has been. It's still been going up. So I just want to say that.
Every budget, every policy that we talk about is about who's going to get opportunity. Is it going to go to the billionaires or is it going to go to our kids? Right now, for decades, we have had a government that has been on the side of the rich and the powerful. It has been on the
It was a dig at Obama.
wealthy. And that means it has not been on the side of everyone else, not on the side of people living on our Native American reservations, people living in inner cities, people living in small farms and small communities across this country. How do we beat it?
Real ballsy of her to bring up
That was
the
some chutzpah right there.
Change. Give people a reason to show up and vote. And we
big
beat it
wampum
by
there.
building a grassroots movement across this country, not showing up behind closed doors with millionaires, but actually building it person by person across this country with small dollar donations, with volunteers, with people who show up and say, I have a stake in this democracy. I will not only beat Donald Trump in 2020.
Yeah,
I'll start
she's
making
got Parkinson's or something. Or she's just super nervous or something. There we go.
Somebody who grew up in a family that lived in a rent-controlled apartment in Brooklyn, New York, and lived paycheck to paycheck. I'm running for president not just to defeat the most dangerous president in the history of this country, a guy who's a racist and a sexist.
The most dangerous president in the
I'm running to transform this country.
You shut up. No, you completely muted. We are not apologists for Donald Trump on this program. We had presidents who owned black people, raped black people that they owned, and then enslaved the children that were the product of that rape. I would have to argue that that is more racist than anything Trump has said or done. I'd have to argue that.
We have a president who started an illegal war to stop people from legally leaving the country. And then when he got the country to, when he decided to free the slaves in the North, therefore freeing the slaves in the entire United States,
right,
said he was going to send them back.
Yeah.
Because it would be better if they weren't here.
Yeah. We had a president who is known for dropping the only 2 nuclear weapons that have ever been used in a hot war ever, killing hundreds of thousands of people in one fell swoop or 2 fell swoops.
We had Richard Nixon.
Just, period. It takes, I'll say chutzpah again because I'm Jewish. I'm an anarchist. It's the first time I've said I'm an anarchist on this entire program. This might be a record. This is, don't touch my Marianne. We
dark psychic forces on my
don't put your dark psychic forces of collectivized hatred on Marianne Williamson. This is, I mean, there's hyperbole and there's calling Donald Trump the most racist and most dangerous president in U.S. history, given U.S. history.
Yep.
Hey, you come over here and have sex with me because I own you, and if not, I'll kill you. Oh, you're pregnant? Awesome. I could use a new house helper.
I'm going to need you to raise them to 4 years old before they can start cleaning for me.
Yeah, I'm going to need you to raise them up to a nice toddler size so they can scrub the baseboards. Like, again, not Trump apologists on this show. We are not Trump fans.
Nope.
There's a way to talk about things. They already have a countdown for tomorrow's debate. We should do that too, just to be really pretentious.
Just go live now.
Just go live now. Just leave, like we were just looking at our walls. Just leave it up and then come back tomorrow.
Please stay tuned for 21 hours.
Please stay tuned for the next 21 hours of just engaging Muddied Waters content of this wall and chair. The most dangerous president in history, Matt.
We have a president who locked up American citizens just because they had slanted eyes.
Yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah, let's even talk about recent history. We had a president who kept out Jewish refugees from the Holocaust. And the reason he said was because he was worried that they were Nazi infiltrators. The Jews fleeing the Holocaust. Nazi infiltrators. That would help the Nazi war effort. Jewish Holocaust survivors. Actually, they weren't Holocaust survivors. Many of them went back to their deaths. They were miles from U.S. shores, and they were sent back.
And really, in my personal opinion, the most dangerous president we've ever had was Woodrow Wilson.
Sure. Yeah. I'm okay with that. I mean, he couldn't do as much damage, but that was just a question of technology. Imagine Woodrow Wilson with nukes.
Right. Imagine, yeah. And not only that, but his policies have carried generations.
Yeah.
And have hurt generations of people.
Woodrow Wilson was one of the greatest progenitors of the dark psychic force of collectivized hatred. I said it.
So, hot takes. What do you got?
I think Marianne did as well as you could when they gave her a combined 7 minutes, 6 minutes, including her.
It was 7 minutes. I think she got 5 max.
Opening and closing speech included, it was probably around 5 or 6 minutes.
Right.
It's just, but I think she did really well with it. I think she still came out. I'm not sure you could call her the winner. Well, I don't know. Who came out looking the cleanest? Her? The rest of them were fighting each other and attacking each other, and she was talking about healing, and she was towards the end attacking not individuals but the entire rest of the body, saying, you know, how can we take this seriously that they're going to fight back against Trump when they've been taking, or fight back against these evil corporations when they've been taking money from these evil corporations. And let's be clear, guys, there are evil corporations. I know, like, we're so used to hearing that demagoguery that we might shut off when we hear it. But there are companies that their entire situation is built on rent seeking and harming other people, defense contractors, prison contractors. All of this stuff is based on, yeah, I said it, private prisons.
Private prison.
Private for-profit prisons. But not just the prison maker, but construction. There are companies that do nothing but make prisons all day long to be run by government. So it's not just private prisons. I mean, like, there are some terrible, terrible companies out there that literally just rent seek on your back. They just make money off of your subjugation and the subjugation and harm of people around the world. The dark psychic forces of collectivized racism, collectivized hatred, and racism.
Yeah, Bernie's just he's coming off like the doddering old fool that many of us knew he was back in 2016. Yeah. Elizabeth Warren bringing up Native Americans on reservations. Man, that's gutsy. That's a ballsy move by her.
That was pretty gutsy.
Yeah. Amy Klobuchar bringing, like, in your closing statement, talking about dead children, like, not what you want people to remember you for.
And Hickenlooper, same thing. I want you to look at me, and I want you to think about, what was it he thought? Cancer? What was it he talked about? The thing that you got to think about?
Climate change, cancer, I don't know.
Oh, what was it? Think about, oh, you're about to have a surgery to keep you from dying. Keep looking. Don't stop. Don't break eye contact. You're going to die. Vote for me. Look at my toupee.
Look at my toupee and my bad teeth.
Well, I mean, yeah, listen, I'm not a big, like, aesthetics person in terms of they have to look, you know, someone has to look a certain way for me to take them seriously. But that toupee was just, there's a question of judgment there.
At least have it match.
It's something. Like,
minimum.
Part of why I don't like my beard, which is natural, is that it turns red and looks like it doesn't match the rest of my body.
Part of the reason I don't like my beard is because it doesn't grow.
Doesn't exist and never will. You don't actually have hair follicles on most of your body.
Right. That's actually pretty accurate.
Right. So that's also a problem. But that's not a question of judgment. You can't, there's nothing you can do about that.
Nothing I can do about it.
You've evolved past needing hair.
Right.
And you personally. And it won't pass on to your children or anything. It's just you. You personally, just the hairless.
Yeah, because whenever I finally do like meet somebody that I want to have a child with, she'll be, I don't know, like Italian or something, and just like everybody in her family with beards, and just
it'll just be you.
Yeah, I'll be the only one.
It's been chest beards everywhere, and Matt the hairless wonder. Yeah.
Chris Reynolds says we have screenshots from last week that make it clear that you don't value aesthetics.
Oh God, yeah. Oh man. Thank you. No, it's true. There were some angles, man. There were some precious angles on that episode.
There were some precious angles.
I not only didn't value aesthetics, I wasn't conscious during a solid 30 minutes of that show. Watching back, I'd look at it and I'd be like, yeah, I'm not awake right now. Because I don't remember any of that. I still talked.
You did the entire
I still talked fairly intelligibly. There were a couple times there I talked about like a tree, something about a white tree or something, but the rest of it I was pretty intelligible, and I don't remember any of it. I was entirely asleep. Entirely asleep. The beard scratching in the mic, Sarah says. Yeah, that was nice too. That was a good sound, right? It's ASMR. It's very ASMR, like, hey everybody. God, that's a noise, huh?
Yeah. I kept hearing it last week. I know.
Mine was grislier. Sarah Branyan says, I think a Democrat would think that Warren or Buttigieg was the winner. Buttigieg, you know what? Buttigieg actually did well. Ish. I'd say.
He didn't do bad. I don't think that Bullock did bad. I think that he sounds like a Hollywood scriptwriter was like, okay, what do we want a Democrat to say?
What do we want a rural governor to sound like? Hey everybody, I got this weird accent that
I'm from
doesn't really
Montana.
match anywhere.
I am pro-choice. I am pro-union. I am whatever.
Climate change.
I don't think he did bad. I think for nobody knowing who that guy was before he came in, I don't think he was in the last round of debates, because if he was, he got the Marianne treatment. I think that he probably gained more than he gained points, while many other people lost more points.
Yeah, he definitely gained from some others lost. They also gave him way more time than Marianne, it seemed like. They let him, but part of the problem is some of it's the dark psychic force of collectivized hatred. Some of it's that. But it's also that in order to do well in terms of time with this debate, you had to pick fights with individual people, because then they'd respond to you and then you get to respond to them and go back and forth. And it encourages them to attack you next time so that you can do that. And Marianne wouldn't do that. She did kind of like go against the whole body writ large a couple times, which was sweet, but she didn't say like, you're wrong, da 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 da, but she's not going to. And maybe there's enough people that like that. I don't know, but it's not going to help her with time.
Yeah, I mean, she did. She called out everybody in the field about, you're taking the same money that you are talking down to. Like, 100% accurate. 100% accurate.
She was completely correct with that. She was complete. Jacob said, I want to see Tulsi and Marianne face off. I actually like Tulsi. She's my Marianne.
Oh,
I like Tulsi.
Sarah said that.
Oh, sorry. Two different things. Jacob said the first thing and Sarah said the second. Jacob said, I don't hate her. Sarah said, Joe Biden is their candidate. This whole charade is a waste of time. Let me tell you something, Sarah. If all of this that we just witnessed happens and Joe Biden becomes the nominee, you think it was rough when Hillary got the nod?
So I was hanging out with personal injury attorney
Chris Reynolds, attorney at law,
beforehand, and Joe Biden does seem to be the choice. Like, that's who the DNC wants. I also think he is the second or third choice of most people. Because
which can make him
right. Because I think that, let's say people like Marianne, they're like, okay, I like Marianne a lot. And then they're like, yeah, but if it's not Marianne, I'd like it to be Pete, but I'll accept Joe.
Right.
And that's how it is. With Hillary, you only had the 3 candidates last time. You had Bernie, Hillary, and oh God, what was that guy's name?
Baltimore. Frick, let me look it up. The mayor of Rat City.
No, not that guy. The guy that was on Reagan's. He was the Secretary of the Navy for Reagan, and then
Jim Webb. Yeah, but he dropped out fairly early. Yeah, right. Jim Webb.
They were the 3 people that were like really in the debate. Oh yeah, and then the other guy for Baltimore, who I forget who that was. He was He was a Clintonite.
Martin O'Malley. Yeah. Oh, kiss my bassett. Martin O'Malley. Yeah. Thank you.
So you only had the 4 choices, and so people were picking sides. In this one, you've got 4,000 candidates. So people are choosing their preferred candidates. So you've got the people who are going, okay, yeah, I want Warren or I want Bernie, but everybody probably has Joe at like number 2 or number 3 because, well, at least he'll give Trump a run for his money. That's the only reason that this one isn't going to be that big of a deal. Before, you only had, it was Sanders and Clinton. That was basically it. You had Sanders versus Clinton, and the people who wanted Sanders didn't want Clinton. Now they have such a wide array of options that they have backups. And in those backups, Joe Biden, if he's not their number 1, if he's not their number 2, he's probably
going to be their number 3. Yeah. And you're splitting the anti-Biden vote, right? So it's like with what happened with Trump earlier on in the Republican nomination fiasco in 2015 and 2016, where at one point, I mean, Trump only got 29-30% of primary voters, but you would see every time they try to coalesce around a candidate, and that candidate would, fall off or whatever, but you couldn't ever get enough support until towards the end when it was just Ted Cruz versus Trump. But at that point, Trump had such and even towards the end, you still had Kasich pulling from the anti-Trump vote. So there was never a chance until the absolute end when Trump already had more electoral votes than he needed, more of the points than he actually needed. He already had the majority of the point, where it was just Kasich and Trump. If it had been 1 or 2 or 3 people against Trump, there's a chance he might not have gotten.
Cruz was in there until the very end.
No, I actually thought that was the case. He suspended his campaign and just stopped campaigning towards the end. Towards the end, the very last 2 candidates were, I thought the exact same thing, and then I remember, and then someone corrected me, and I looked into it, and it was correct. At one point, the only time it was 2 people was Donald Trump versus John Kasich. And by then it was, Kasich stayed in to make sure that Cruz didn't get the nomination. Like, that's literally why he stayed in, because then shortly after Cruz dropped out, Kasich dropped out.
So superfan Chris Reynolds, doing just the Lord's work. So,
oh wow, look at this.
Yeah, Warren got 18 minutes, Bernie got 17, Pete 14, Klobuchar 10:44, Beto 10, Delaney 10:24, Ryan 9:38, Marianne 8:53. Hickenlooper is the only person less. Well, where's the
governor of Montana?
Yeah, the Montana governor.
Pete, Beto, Delaney, Ryan, because he definitely got more than Marianne.
Bullock got 10:44. Bullock got 10:44. Oh, Bullock and Klobuchar both got 10:44.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Bullock and Klobuchar both. He just sent me the graphic.
Oh, okay.
Bullock and Klobuchar both got 10:44. Hickenlooper got 8:37, and Marianne got 8:53.
Did it feel to you like he got less than Marianne?
He really didn't talk a whole lot.
That's true. He didn't.
He really didn't. Like I know his opening, his closing, and then he and Bernie got into it for a little bit. Like that's pretty much it from him.
Wow. So he actually got it worse than Marianne. That's very interesting. I would not have thought she got 8 minutes and 37 seconds. It felt like she got about 5 or 6.
Right. But
again, that's including her speeches, which was probably half of that. Was just speeches.
Yeah, I think it was a 90-second or 2-minute closing or a 90-second closing and then a minute opening. And it did not feel like she
It did not feel like that.
No.
So, Oh Kiss My Bass says Trump. He said this a while back, and I wanted to address it. He said Trump is going to win. I tend to agree.
I would. There is nobody out there. Like I know all the polls are saying that Biden is up 10 points or whatever it is, and right now I think
so was Hillary.
Right. I think the most recent poll for the Democrat primary has Biden at 30. Has Bernie in second place at 20, Warren in third at 14, which I don't know what happened to Kamala Harris, because after the debate, she was right there with Biden.
Yeah.
But she's fallen off because, she has walked back a lot of the stuff that she was saying. So tomorrow night when we do night 2 of this, apparently on YouTube,
I'm going to try it on Facebook too, but we're going to just put the link to the YouTube right off the bat and say, if we get booted, come join us over at YouTube.
Right. But for night 2, you're going to have another rematch between Biden and Harris. And that was the biggest thing that happened in Harris's campaign was when she faced off against Biden. Now, personally, we here still believe that Biden won that. But we can't argue with what the people say. But Biden is still in the lead while Harris has fallen off. So how big of a win could it have possibly been?
Wasn't a long-term one anyway.
Right.
So, and if he truly does get the nomination, that is possibly, arguably, the worst case scenario for Democrats. Or worst case of the likely scenario for Democrats, because
the thing in the middle, because half your face is covered.
No, I kind of like this. Here, see if I move it over to this, then I can. Oh man, yeah.
I was gonna say you got like a Princess Jasmine thing going on.
It was nice. I kind of liked it. Hey everybody, look at my beautiful face. If Biden gets it, there are a bunch of Democrats who see Biden as every bit as bad as Trump. Now, we agree, but for completely different reasons. They're not going to vote for him. If they weren't going to vote, Biden is male Hillary. He's Hillary plus penis minus uterus, presumably. Exactly.
Yeah. Right. So, do you have anything else you want to add to that?
Yeah, no,
Hey, let's congratulate Mr. America, the Bearded Truth, on the birth of his daughter.
Oh, yeah! Yeah, we haven't had a chance to play. Jason and Kelsey, Lion, the Mr. and Mrs. America.
The Bearded Truths.
The Bearded The Bearded Truths have given birth, well, she did mostly, have given birth to the very first muddied baby of freedom.
That's right.
Kiara Lion.
We were really pushing for Madwina Watera, but Jason did not follow through.
Little Madwina, and then at one point we were gonna Matisha.
Saturday morning at 11:30, 7 pounds 10 ounces, and I think most newborns look like a potato, possibly an alien. I don't know. She's actually a really cute kid, which is surprising because it's Jason's. There's There's a lot of Kelsey in that kid.
I was going to say there's a lot of it's a Kelsey heavy child, and that's good.
Yes,
that's good. That's a good thing. But yeah, she was born very healthy. We're very happy, and Kelsey is doing well. We're very, very happy for them. Congratulations! I'm glad you brought it up because I didn't realize, I had forgotten that we had never addressed it on any of the shows yet. It just
we hadn't, because every
weekend.
time we've been saying Jason might be on the air, we don't know because he had a kid on the way. But now he has the kid, and congratulations to both of them because it's awesome, and we are very happy for all of us here at Muddied Waters Media are very happy to expand the Muddied Waters family. Because now we have somebody that can do work for us, and eventually.
Oh yeah, she can be our Steven.
She can be our Steven. Yeah.
Just a few short years, just like 5 years. She can be our Steven.
Sarah Damian watched Muddied Waters of Freedom in labor 2 months ago.
Well, good for you. So, do you remember offhand what episode that was? Watching us is a very soothing and pain relieving experience. Like that's watch tonight while I pumped my boobs. Those are the times I'm not commenting. It's a nice visual.
Yeah.
That's a good visual. So now when you're not commenting, we just have to assume that you're breast pumping.
Right.
Which I'm fine with.
I
mean, you got to do what you got to do.
You got to do what you got to do.
You got to do what you got to do. So, yeah, I'd say Marianne did pretty well. Buttigieg did well. I guess that guy, what's his name? The governor of Montana?
Bullock.
Bullock did well.
Yeah. CNN is saying Warren and Bernie won. Of course they're saying, yes, of course CNN is saying that. What CNN wants, I keep trying to close the show. It's not working. What CNN wants is they want a four-way race between Kamala Harris, Bernie, Warren, and Biden. And they don't care which one wins, as long as one of those four candidates. They're also going to push for whoever wins to pick one of those four candidates, which would support Chris Reynolds' theory of the Biden-Harris. I think that no matter what, it's going to be a Harris VP if in the Democratic.
Can you imagine Biden-Harris after she called him a racist in the first one?
Yep.
What a freaking here's how the far left Antifa wing of the Democratic Party is going to look at this. The racist and the prosecutor. The dark psychic forces of collectivized hatred personified against Donald Trump. Why even vote? Yeah, no, I don't buy that. So tomorrow, God willing and the creek don't rise, we're gonna have the.
Did you just go Hillary Clinton on me?
I sure did. I'm starting to shut down. If this looks similar to how it did last Tuesday, it's because I feel that way. So tomorrow, we're going to do this again. And this time, it's going to be all dark forces.
It's all dark forces.
Everyone up there.
I am truly looking forward to, because Kamala Harris needs another bump. She's going after Biden, and she's going after him hard.
Yeah, it's actually going to be pretty good. It's going to be dark on dark action. So that'll be good. That'll be Wednesday. What is usually, my fellow Americans, instead we're doing DEMAGEDDON 2 Intersectional Boogaloo Part 2.
Right.
Dark Forces. Now this time it's personal.
That's right. Yang Gang tomorrow.
Yeah, it's going to be Yang Gang. Yang Gang versus the frickin' the dark forces. What a quote! The dark psychic force. I'm going to use that for the rest of my life.
Ever.
Someone cuts me off. You're a part of the dark forces. But pull down my. Hey, you're a part of the dark forces of collectivized, dark psychic forces
of
collectivized hatred. I'm definitely getting her to talk about that when she comes on my show. That we're gonna have a whole segment about.
So she's coming on your show, right?
Yes, she's coming on my show. I actually just heard back right before we started from her assistant, and we're pinning down dates because I don't want to move Kim Ruff. And then Thursday, are you doing a show Thursday?
Yeah, I'm doing a show Thursday.
Who's your guest?
This is Erin Nakamoto. It's the
reschedule
from when she had to cancel on me 2 weeks ago.
Cool. So you guys will be able to post. What's the word I'm looking for? Post about
Anarcho Vegas.
Yeah, post Anarcho Vegas. You'll get to talk about how that went. And then Friday, I don't know if Jason's coming back yet. He just had a baby, so
Kelsey.
He seems to care more about the baby, which it's a novelty, right? There's a baby. It's a novelty, right? It's a bit, the show. I've been doing the show for a few months. I got this baby. It's all new and shiny and babyish.
The fun will wear out, and he'll be back.
That's what I'm saying. Eventually you go, this baby's crawling now. Is it really a baby anymore?
More of a toddler, I guess.
It's kind of toddling slightly.
I'm not really sure what the different levels of childbearing is.
I miss my show. Dada. Yeah, no. I'll be right back. I'll be back. I get it. Dada. Yeah,
listen,
right.
Little monosyllabic, tiny little thing, human.
Use your words, baby. And Monday, again, no idea.
Yeah.
Baby still new. Ooh, baby. And then next Tuesday, we will be having the regular Muddied Waters of Freedom.
Yes.
And then Wednesday.
Are you going 2 weeks worth of stuff?
We're going to talk about the entire month of August right now. And then August 20th. No. Then next Wednesday is Kim Ruff. Future Miss Madam President Kim Ruff. I'm not going to say that I was jealous that you had her on your show first. I'm going to say that as I watched your episode, I messaged her saying, I want you on my show now.
Yeah, no, Kim was a great interview. She was one of my favorite interviews I've done.
Yeah, no, she's great.
So is Dan Berman. I loved interviewing Dan Berman.
I like Dan too.
On my show anytime. But yeah, no, Kim was a great interview, and she should definitely come on your show.
I cannot wait. I can't wait. Chris Reynolds says Spike definitely did drugs at the end of the debate. I don't do. This is me.
Yeah.
This is the mangoes wearing off, pal. The sugar rush, the 100 net carbs from slamming back 2 mangoes.
I was super tired all day long. Didn't sleep much last night. Super tired all day long. Right before the show, I ate like almost a gallon of ice cream just for the sugar rush to get me through.
It does it. And then you're like,
yeah, now it's starting to wear off, and I'm like, yep.
I want to put down a countdown of 21 hours and just sit here. Like fall asleep. People come on.
Wake up tomorrow, same clothes. Okay.
Yeah, not even showered or nothing. Hey, what time is it? Is it 8? No? Okay. And then you go back to... Is it 8? Oh, is it 8 now? Okay. Hey, everybody. So we're not going to do that. Because I'm sure that violates some rule. So
just do kratom. I don't drink kratom, but it would work.
Does kratom pump you up? I thought kratom.
Kava relaxes you. Kratom in small doses is energizing, and in higher doses it takes.
You know, it's when you're so tired that you don't.
I want to say
remember.
upper because I don't like referring to it as like uppers and downs.
As an upper, yeah. It's a stimulant.
Thank you, stimulant.
It's
and it's a relaxant in large doses. Yeah. So. But yeah, so
we ended this episode strong, and that's what I'm happy about.
This is when we need somebody in. We need a Steven to just cut it.
Someone just put us out of our misery.
Right.
So, guys, we have said everything we're going to say. Oh, Matt, hey, in the meantime, until they see us tomorrow, if they wanted to go on the internet and look for us, how would that happen?
So you can find us, apparently not this episode, but other episodes. You can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/muddiedwatersmedia. You can find us on Twitter at muddied_waters. You can find us on Instagram at muddiedwatersmedia. You can find us on Anchor at anchor.fm/muddiedwaters. And you can find this and every other episode at muddiedwatersofreedom.com.
That's perfect. Also, muddiedwatersmedia.com.
Media.com,
which just forwards to muddiedwatersofreedom.com. All right, well, guys, thanks for tuning in. We will see you tomorrow. And where we're going,
we don't need roads.
DJ Cover Fun.
Tell me.
Do you have the time to listen to me whine about nothing and everything all at once? I am one of those melodramatic fools, neurotic to the bone, no doubt about it. Sometimes I give myself the creeps. Sometimes my mind plays tricks on me. It all keeps adding up. I think I'm cracking up, because my dreams are bursting at the seams.
As I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I take a look at my life and realize there's nothing left. Cause I've been blasting and laughing so long that even my mama thinks that my mind is gone. But I ain't never crossed a man that didn't deserve it. Me be treated like a punk, you know that's unheard of. You better watch how you're talking and where you're walking, or you and your homies might be lying to chalk.
Been spending most of our lives living in a gangster's paradise. Been spending most of our lives living in a gangster's paradise. Keep spending most of our lives living in a gangster's paradise. Keep spending most of our lives living in a gangster's paradise.
I went to a shrink to analyze my dreams. She says it's like a sex that's bringing me down. I went to a whore. He said my life's a bore. So quit my wonder, cause it's bringing it down.
I'm an educated fool with money on my mind, Mac 11 in my hand and a gleam in my eye. I'm a loped out gangster, set tripping banger, and my homies is down, so don't arouse my anger. Fool, death ain't nothing but a heartbeat away. I'm living life, you would die. What can I say? I'm 23 now, but will I live to see 24 the way they just going? I don't know. Tell me.
Sometimes I give myself the creeps. Sometimes I give myself the creeps. Sometimes my mind plays tricks on me. Sometimes my mind plays tricks on me. It all keeps adding up. I think I'm cracking up.
Cause everything is never as it seems. But you are we so blind to see that the ones we heard are you and me. Tell me why are we so blind to see 'cause my dreams are bursting at the seams.
Yeah!
'Cause I get 1,000 hugs from 10,000 lightning bugs as they try to